And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Who's Views. Yes, it's your big show for a Sunday. It is lovely to see you. It is indeed Sunday, the 19th of January, 2025. How are you all? It's headlines, everybody. Got another cracking and big show for you tonight. Nice to see you all. Everybody come on into the chat because we want to know what you think about all the subjects we're going to be talking about tonight. Wow, lots of very delicate subjects to talk about this evening. Just putting it out there right now at the top of the show, because yes, we're going to be talking about various items there that some of you might find a little bit disturbing. But that's the show. This is Headlines here on Who's Views, and Headlines is all about talking about those news items which affect the Doctor Who world. And certainly this week we have had a couple. Right, so have you heard, everybody? Yes. Is Fandom at last beginning to wake up? We're going to be looking at that later on in the show, because there's been a certain news item this week and a certain couple of news items this week that have actually suggested that people may not be happy. We're going to be talking about that. And yes, we're going to be talking about the hypocrisy, the ever increasing and ongoing hypocrisy of show business in just a couple of minutes. As ever, I am not on my own. Let's bring the guys on right now to hear what they think about it. I've got Ian, Paul and Third Doctor Ian with me. Hello to you two.
Hello there. Can I say I'm not happy? Okay, I'm saying that now. Okay.
And I'm disturbed anyway. So.
Well, you could say that actually about everybody here. Listen, as usual, I'd like to start the show by saying a huge thank you to everybody that's been getting in touch this week. It is, as ever, fantastic to hear from you, and I really do appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do. It's whosviews1@gmail.com, whosviews1@gmail.com. Please do email in, and I do get back to you eventually, I can tell you that. But in the meantime, he says, yeah, I do, honestly, eventually. In the meantime, I do want to say huge thank you to Slumdog J, I Love to Be, S Rogerson 91, what's my handwriting there? Oh yes, Pooh's Peanut, who I think is Mrs. Pertwee's girl. I think that's who that is. John Henson, to Synth John, to Madron7731, to Stephen Hall, to Paul Ure, to Scouse Stewpot, to Eddie Day Riley, to Daniel Thomas, to Gavin Brown, to Ray Teasdale. And I'd just like to say to Ray as well, happy birthday for today, Ray.
Happy birthday, Ray.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Hope he's having a good
GT, is that another poll in addition to the polls we already have?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Lovely.
Takeover.
It's a bit
It's a big of polls in a nice way. Yeah, so.
Of biblical
Other names are available, you know. I mean, it doesn't have to be Paul all the time.
I know. Hey, listen, speaking of birthdays, because we did say happy birthday there to Ray, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, mate. Of course, we'd like to say a huge happy birthday for tomorrow to the one, the only, Sir Tom Baker. Ta-da! 91 years old tomorrow, everybody. There you go. What an achievement. Well done, Sir Tom. Yeah, big love from all of us. Fantastic.
Doesn't seem like 2 minutes since we did his 90th, does it?
I know, yeah.
Exactly. And that's
happy birthday, Tom.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sir Tom. And that's a great plug, that, because this time last year, of course, we were in the middle of our Tom Baker at 90 season, all still available for you on the playlist under the Tom Baker at 90 season, strangely.
Worth listening to, watching. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
We had a great time last January, didn't we? But great stuff there. It's good to see you all, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Headlines on Who's Views tonight. Here we go then, because yes, this week has been, why is it, gentlemen? Answer me this if you can. Why is it that people in show business are just so condescending and so hypocritical when it comes to the worldwide public? I mean, they sit in their $1 million mansions and £1 million mansions having these days an opinion on absolutely everything and dictating to people how they should live their lives, what they should think, basically cancelling people who don't agree with them or who question them, tell us lies a lot of the time, you know, give us fantasies because that's the world that they live in. And it's ongoing, and it has been for quite a while now, hasn't it? And why is it that that always seems to turn around and bite them on the arse eventually? I just don't get it.
But it's because they don't live in the real world. That's part of the problem, isn't it? So
I think.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by yes men and yes women, so they invariably go around in this little bubble, thinking that everything they say and do is wonderful and great, and you know they could evacuate themselves on the kitchen floor accidentally, and they would be told that that was the most amazing thing humanity had ever achieved, and they would believe it. And they think that they're so intelligent when a lot of the time they're incredibly stupid, and they'll just make proclamations and say things, and they just genuinely think that they're right. But there's always this element of do as I say, not do as I do. So no matter what they say, like who's that mad bint that's been going around doing all those concerts recently? That's just Taylor Swift. She's always on about the environment, isn't she? Always on about the environment, but she's clocked up more air miles than I think the people that went to the moon and back. You know, she's the arch example of hypocrisy when it comes to that kind of so-called elite.
When you said mad bent, I thought you were talking about Madonna for a minute, but
Oh, bless her.
You know,
Bless her. Bless her.
it really.
Yeah, well, she's allegedly lost the plot an awful lot as
yes,
well. Hasn't
yes,
she? And
yeah.
I'm a
allegedly,
huge
allegedly,
fan. Allegedly, I'm a huge fan. But I look at her now and think, oh, that money's just gone. Oh, anyway. Thank you to everybody that's joining us in the chat. It's nice to see. As you saw, then we had an awful lot of you saying happy birthday to Sir Tom. And I know he watches, so God love him. I want to say thank you as well to Paul for this. There's a super. Paul Thomas Ashworth with his super sticker. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I don't know what it is about those things. Honestly, I don't. Thank you so much for that. JWC Reviews is with us saying they've lost touch with real people because they live in a celebrity bubble. So that's tying in what you two think, isn't it? Forbidden Man saying they think they are something special when they can live in the real world. I don't know. It's let's have a look at Digby here. Evening, gents. Evening, lovely people in the chat. Sorry I can't join you live. Look forward to watching on the catch up. Yeah, nice to see you, Digby. Thanks for popping in. I know you're busy. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. And I'm going to say that again for the replay. Lovely to see you. Welcome.
Thanks for coming back.
Stephen Braddock's with us with his lovely quark there, saying they live in dot and bubble.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, that's a very good one, isn't it? Very good one. And Paul Schlufter is with us saying Tom Baker is forever the Doctor. Ark in Space also with us saying happy 91st birthday to my favourite and first Doctor that got me into Doctor Who all those years ago, 30 years ago. Fantastic. Yeah.
Can I just say, GT, I loved Stephen's quark. Fantastic, lovely drawing of a quark.
Good, wasn't it?
Very nice.
Yeah.
It was, it was good there. I'll bring it back up again so you can have a look. There it is. There.
Lovely. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Stephen. But yeah, this is the story that I wanted to get into here because it never fails to surprise me in a sense or shock me about how these people think that they can actually, just because they've got a few pennies in the bank, start to dictate to society how we should live, what we should think. I mean, everything as well, as we've seen in Doctor Who as well. If they don't agree with you, you're automatically branded or cancelled or you're far right. It's just nonsensical, isn't it? And how dare they preach to us when those amongst their own ranks are allegedly, everything alleged, doing wrong. I am, of course, as Golden Age Geek in the chat has pointed out, talking to this story about Doctor Who writer Neil Gaiman this week. So we'll start with this one from New York Magazine. And this is from their X account, because yes, they're one of the few of these media types that's still on X. They published this earlier in the week. Editor's note: this story contains content that readers may find disturbing, including graphic allegations of sexual assault. Last summer, a British podcast broke the news that multiple women had accused Neil Gaiman, the acclaimed British fantasist and author of The Sandman and Coraline, of sexual assault. Most of them were in their 20s when they met Gaiman. With one exception, the stories take place where Gaiman was in his 40s or older. By then, he had a reputation as one of the greatest modern comic book writers and an outspoken champion of women. For our new cover story, New York features writer @Lily Pearl talks to more women who shared allegations of assault, coercion, and abuse. She also looks into Gaiman's upbringing in Scientology, as well as his relationship with his wife, Amanda Palmer, and what she knew. Through their story, she uncovers the dark secrets Gaiman hid for decades. So this is in that particular magazine, and he's on the cover of this now. It didn't stop there either, everybody, because it did hit certain news outlets here. Now, bearing in mind what's happening in Britain right now over the last couple of weeks as well, with incredible stories going on every single day, it staggers me that certain channels like the BBC and ITN are choosing to ignore certain stories. And I find that horrific because they're not reporting properly. It's left to alternative channels to actually go into it in detail and give you the facts on it. And I think it's because they're so part of this culture that we've just been talking about. They're terrified of being called ist, phobe, or ot. Do you know what I mean, guys? I really think it's that. So I was surprised to see this actually hitting the BBC, and it's the BBC we're going to now with BBC News. Neil Gaiman faces more sexual assault allegations. Honestly, I was so surprised to see the BBC going here, and I just thought, oh, why? Oh, why?
The BBC have to be very careful how they report these stories because they're not exactly in the right place themselves. Let's be honest, you know.
No, they're very much in a glass house, aren't they? And
exactly,
they really with the stones.
Exactly.
It didn't take much for a lot of that to come crashing down, and quite rightly so.
Exactly. And it's only a matter of time with that, isn't it? Because, you know, we've seen what's gone on there. So this is the second story that we've had from people sort of linked to Doctor Who, because of course we had that newscaster last year as well, the newsreader, didn't we?
Hugh Edwards, yeah.
That's it, yeah. But and look where that's gone. So I was very surprised to see this on BBC News. And then the story continues, everybody, with this. Best-selling British author Neil Gaiman has reportedly been accused of sexual misconduct by 8 women, including 4 who previously spoke out. The fantasy graphic novel and science fiction writer, whose books Good Omens, American Gods, and The Sandman have been adapted for television, was the subject of a New York magazine cover story on Monday. The article, which details fresh claims made against him based on interviews with 8 women, follows last year's release of Tortoise Media's podcast Master, which reported the initial accusations. Gaiman has denied the allegations, posting on his blog on Tuesday, "I'm far from a perfect person, but I have never engaged in non-consensual sexual activity with anyone ever." So that's what Mr. Gaiman is saying. Let's make that clear. I'm far from a perfect person, but I have never engaged in non-consensual sexual activity with anyone ever. In July 2024, Tortoise Media reported that Gaiman had been accused of sexual assault and released a podcast series which covered allegations made by 5 women. On Monday, New York Magazine and its website Vulture reported allegations from 8 women, 4 of whom also participated in Tortoise's podcast, claiming to have had similar experiences with him, Gaiman. One of the women, who had been babysitting Gaiman's 5-year-old child, alleges that he offered her a bath in his garden before joining her in the tub naked, asking her to sit on his lap, and that he had sexually assaulted her. While the article states that all of the accusers had at some point played along with Gaiman's desires to some extent by calling him master and continuing to communicate with him, the women allege that consent and specific BDSM activities which they say took place had not been discussed and agreed upon prior to them happening. Gaiman's representatives previously told Tortoise that sexual degradation, bondage, domination, sadism, and masochism may not be to everyone's taste, but between consenting adults, BDSM is lawful. The BBC has contacted Gaiman's representatives for further comment. A police report accusing Gaiman of sexual assault was made in January 2023, but the investigation was eventually dropped. Now, I checked just before the show coming on tonight here on the 19th of January 2025 to see if the BBC had updated that with any response. There was no responses, guys. No response at all as yet. I know, exactly. So that is out there now. This is a well-known author in our circles, science fiction and fantasy circles. He has written 2 stories for Doctor Who in the past. And yet he has been one of these people that has come out to say to the world, TWs are women, you have to do this, you have to do that. There's something wrong with this industry, big time, isn't there?
I think it's bizarre, though, because it seems to be, if you look at the BBC's history, this is all alleged, I have to say, that you need to have some kind of deviance to qualify for a job in television, it seems, you know? Allegedly.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit of a common thing, doesn't it, with people, especially on the left, that they all seem to pray at the same church, so to speak, and ultimately they all seem to fall way short of what they allegedly aspire to, and say that everybody else should aspire to as well. And I think it could be, in some respects, a bit like a little tower of cards. You just need one or two big names to go, and a whole lot more can come following it. And I think more will, to be honest.
What's interesting in the article that you read, GT, about the women involved in it, some of that comes across as rather odd as well anyway. If you're having relationships with him, and that's all acceptable, but he overstepped the mark because he didn't have, proper words or whatever, or explain what was going to happen in the situation. Why were they having sex with him anyway if that what was going on?
It's always difficult, isn't it, when you're outside and you're looking in it and speculating on these things, because there's two sides to everything, and you're trying to do the right thing, but you've got to be careful with this as well. I mean, the investigation, as it says at the end of the article, in 2023 was dropped. Now, the only reason surely you would drop an investigation is because there isn't enough evidence to back up. But if they've had, if New York Magazine has found more people to come out and say to this, but I'm at a loss with this as well, because it's just another example of hypocrisy.
Yeah. Can I stress something? That no means no. I want to stress that I wasn't making explicit of that.
Absolutely.
No means no.
And that goes
under any
for men
circumstances,
as well.
But regardless of how far you've taken something,
that goes for men as well. If no means no,
Yeah.
But I just don't understand how these people in the industry are getting themselves into continual messes when they're so busy preaching to all of us that we can't do things and we must do this and we must do this and we must lead a life they want us to lead. Just for a second to say thank you, Digby, for your super chat there, who says many happy returns to Tom Baker, the Doctor. Thanks to JT, Paul and Ian for the great show, and to Kirsty Garbage and lovely people in the chat. Well, here for that one as well.
Also, I was going to say as well, going back to the article, it said that Neil Gaiman was in his 40s or slightly later, 40 or later. He must be about 60 now, is he? I think so. This is again historic allegations going back 15 years ago. Let's say, for example, what still frustrates me about all these events that come up is why people don't speak up sooner. Why it takes that amount of time for this to be unearthed? And that's amazing me half the time. I don't understand.
I think that's actually one of the reasons that contributes to a lot of cases not succeeding is because they have left them for a long time. I did read a related article myself that referred to the person who was involved in the taking a bath where he joined an incident and everything, alleged incident. And was acting, I believe, as a nanny and had continued communicating, and when they went abroad agreed to go with them and had been writing things to him about how he made her feel in a positive, gushing way. And again, if ultimately he's exercising power, it's not unusual that people would unwillingly get swept into it, because there's a little bit of that. It just, people get affected in different ways, don't they?
But you have to, in a way though, you have to take responsibility for your actions as well. So if you're going on with what he's doing because you want to get your foot up the ladder, you have to think about what you're doing. You're responsible as well, surely,
And then if you don't get what you think you're going to get up that ladder, you can't then start changing the narrative retrospectively and saying,
and moving the goalposts effectively.
But you're absolutely right. No means no on all sides. So it's up to people other than us to ultimately, with charges and everything, if they're made, to make those calls. But
all this is alleged. That's what we're.
The story was there. It was broke by New York Magazine. The BBC picked it up, as did other news outlets. Let's make this very clear. And because Neil Gaiman has written for Doctor Who twice, it does affect the world of Doctor Who. That's what Headlines is all about here on Who's Views, talking about these people. But it seems to me, guys, that the more success, the more money these people get, the more story come out about them, the more that they seem to think that they're better than the rest of us, and that they're possibly not touchable, or they're above the law. And one of the things I was actually thinking about this week is Julianne has just said it to us in the chat. Will they drop Nightmare in Silver and the Doctor's Wife from iPlayer?
That's the main positive thing from this article. They'll destroy them. That'd be good. Lovely. Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, if they go along the line that they normally play, if it's somebody not of the left, then they would immediately.
But he is, isn't he?
Only. Yeah, but if it was somebody not left wing, you know, if it was somebody that wasn't one of that sort of like particular church, they would take stuff off straight away. So if the BBC, for example, want to give the view and prove that they are equal and not biased in any way, and none of us believe that, they will take it off. They will, and anything else of his, they'll take it off. But I think they probably won't.
I mean, when we look at this as well, Julianne, as well, I was thinking about this, and I know Stephen Braddock said to you in the chat, he was thinking about this as well. I was thinking, oh, that's it. That's going to be it for The Doctor's Wife and Nightmare in Silver now. And I'm with Paul. I don't rate those episodes very highly at all. I think they're very, very bad.
Nightmare in Silver in particular is one of the worst Sabon episodes ever, I have to say. And that includes closing time in that.
Yeah, and The Doctor's Wife is just emotional train wreck nonsense. But you know, the thing is, let's look at who his friends are, all alleged. And I'm wondering if certain people, like Daniel is saying to us here, Daniel Raven, hello to you. I wonder if Tennant's address book is undergoing some revisions right now. Yeah.
He's out with the Tipex, obviously, as we speak. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So will they keep it on there? I mean, it's probably right to keep it on there until, I mean, we had an old saying that everybody seems to forget in the 21st century. And it was an good old saying you're innocent until proven guilty. Doesn't work in the 21st century.
It's the other way around now, isn't it, to be honest?
Well, according to social media, you are proven guilty immediately when the bandwagon tells you you're proven guilty. So I personally don't think they would have to do anything until there's a court case or a result of a court case. But they did remove him from the 70s. Do you know what I mean? From the two doctors. And they are in the process of removing, or may have already done, Edwards from that one, Fear Her, haven't they?
That's another one I'd gladly see wiped tomorrow. That'd be fine.
But surely it should follow the same rules then for these two episodes.
Yeah.
They tend to act when it's just allegations, even because they don't want to get swept up later on if it's proved to have left things longer than perhaps they should. But it's a tricky line, the BBC particularly.
Well, they've made it tricky for themselves as well with their continuing hypocrisy and double standards in my book, honestly, because you don't know which way the wind's blowing with them. You know, let's have a look and see what they're saying in the chats, guys, while we think about what else we're going to say here. We've got Golden Age Geek saying to us, apart from a few lines of dialogue, I adore the story of The Doctor's Wife. Well, that's fine. I'll agree to disagree with you.
I don't like it much because I'm not a big fan of Saran Jones. That's my problem, especially when she had Mona Lisa for the Sarah Jane Adventures. My God.
Well, she used to go to the gym I used to go to in Manchester.
Did she really?
Very nice. Okay. Yeah, she's quite nice. She's a nice.
I'm sure she's lovely, but I can't stand her myself. Yeah.
But I didn't like that whole emotional train wreck of a story, to be quite honest, in that, because I just thought, oh, please, no, that sentimental guff. I don't like it in Doctor Who. You all know that. I can't be done with sentiment and emotion in Doctor Who. And all this nonsense.
And he calls the TARDIS sexy as well.
Please. I don't like that.
Get a room, for God's sake.
Craig Dunlop is saying, I saw that article on Gaiman on the main page of BBC News. It was only on the main page for half a day. Was it really, Craig? How interesting. I didn't know that. Mark Greaves, hello to you, mate. Wasn't it the BBC who blasted Mr. Cliff Richard a few years ago about sexual crimes, which were false? Yes, it was. And people tend to forget about that. And that aged Cliff, didn't it? Because Cliff was very happy. And he went through hell for a couple of years because of them. And I don't think they were ever, I know they had to pay Cliff an awful lot of money, but that came from the TV license fee, which I never was very happy with that. And people keep forgetting what they did to Cliff, and it actually makes me think, is he the only one? We've got lots of you in the chat saying things about this. Thank you. Raymond saying to us, Raymond Williams, is this going to court? So many of those allegations never make it to court, but the person's career still gets destroyed. Kevin Spacey, Noel Clarke, etc. Well, I don't know, and we're going to keep an eye on this particular one, Raymond, because I haven't seen anything to say it's going to court yet. That would be big news if it does.
I think referencing Noel Clarke there is particularly worthwhile, because it was purely allegations with him. There was nothing that was ever proven. Absolutely. There was nothing that was taken to court. Nothing went anywhere, and he was utterly destroyed as a result of it. Stuff that he'd written, had his name taken off it and was put under other people's names, allegedly. And it was horrific what was done to Noel Clarke. And they cancelled him very quickly. All channels, Sky and everything. They all sort of like dropped him immediately. And
yeah.
I expect the same to happen here because it's just allegations.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we also saw what happened to Mr. Barrowman.
Yeah.
And Mr. Barrowman, of course, this week, and we might come to this in another show, but Mr. Barrowman this week has gone on to talk about how painful those few years were and how it cost him work.
Cool.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Julianne saying to us, these types do eat their own, don't they? They're loyal until it's not fashionable to be loyal.
Yeah.
You know, how many others are going to have the tide turn on them after tomorrow, for example, the 20th of January 2025? Who knows what's going to happen? Carwyn's with us. Oh, mate, how are you? I'm not a fan of Gaiman. I don't think much of his work and whimsy style of writing. Think less of him after I met him, and he just came across as arrogant and full of himself. Well, surprise, surprise, to be quite honest. I mean, I had a certain incident in the 90s with somebody who went on to become a showrunner, an alleged showrunner of Doctor Who, not the first one, but anyway, you know what I mean. And he was the same towards me and my friend.
He still is.
Yeah, and that put me off him. So when it was announced he was taking over, I thought, oh, please, this is going to be absolute rubbish. Yeah. Wasn't far wrong, to be quite honest. Legion of James saying to us, there is something deeply, deeply sinister at the very centre of all the UK establishments. I think it's worldwide, my friend.
Yeah,
I think so. I think there's definitely something really corrupt and poisonous that's run through this industry. And I think it's all stemming from certain types of view who are taking the pay because they all get themselves in a position where they seem to be absolutely 100% thinking, I'm safe from judgment now. I've got so much money. I can do this. I can do that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's changed. There is something that is added to that from the BBC as well, which you may be interested in when it comes to this topic. This is the productions affected. Since these allegations first surfaced, several of Gaiman's film and TV projects have been affected. Season 3 of Prime Video's Good Omens will now end with one 90-minute episode with Gaiman no longer involved in the production. So that's the one with Tennant in. So that's
Michael Sheen. Yeah.
One 90-minute episode to round it up. Disney has paused production on its film adaptation of another Gaiman title, The Graveyard Book, while Netflix has cancelled Dead Boy Detectives, although it's not clear if this was related to the allegations. Season 2 of The Sandman is still expected to be released this year on Netflix, however, as well as Prime Video series adaptation of Anansi Boys. Okay. The BBC has contacted Netflix, Prime Video and Disney for comment. Now, again, when I checked this morning, there was nothing back on that and updated on the story. The Leeds Playhouse is hosting a musical adaptation of Gaiman's dark fantasy horror children's novella, Coraline, from April. It told the BBC News in November it was moving ahead with the project. The venue has been approached for a response to the latest allegation. Headline, which has published several of Gaiman's works, not our Headline, but another thing called Headline, which has published several of Gaiman's works, declined to comment on the allegations against the Portsmouth-born author. So as you can see, some of that cancel type thing has come in now with them actually saying, right, okay, this is this. We've got to stop this now. We're going to have to pause this. But this
like you said, why do they stop it until it's actually gone to court and been proven that it is in fact correct and not just bogus information?
Exactly. This is where I get confused, Paul, Ian, who viewers, I get confused by the double standards here. It's as though they suddenly go, oh, the public are going to not like this. They're going to panic about this. So we've got to be seen to preempting something. And yet, as I say, you're proven, you're innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. So I don't understand why they suddenly go, right, cancel. And I'm not for Gaiman. I'm not against him. Don't know enough about him. It hasn't gone to court yet. It hasn't gone to trial yet. So I'm not judging in any way, shape or form. I'm just saying I'm surprised by the whole industry here and the way it works, because I just can't get it. It seems to be one rule there, one rule there, one rule there.
And as you were saying, Ian, like Noel Clarke, if these were just allegations, his career was ruined. He should be coming back, getting work. He was a great actor. Why he's not getting work? I don't understand.
He should also be substantially compensated, I think.
Yeah.
It's what was done to him was horrendous. I think I may be wrong. If I am, I apologise unreservedly to him and withdraw it. But I'm certain at one point he'd been discussing how he'd contemplated suicide, and you could understand that. You couldn't blame him for it. But how tragic that would have been. He's got a wife, he's got kids, and to think that potentially, allegedly, it drove him to that, just something false, is all the time while people are really doing stuff. You know, like we've seen a lot of it in the news recently in certain towns around Britain and everything else, not celebrities, but all the same, have been getting away with it scot-free for decades. And it is, you're right, JT, there's something seriously wrong, like somebody else put it, in all the institutions and worldwide. There's an awful lot of rocks that need lifting and a very, very harsh light shining on the creatures that are hiding under those rocks and operating. I think.
And I do think as well that the Bannerman situation was a huge overreaction to something just a stupid joke. Honestly, I don't understand that.
It's worse in a pub on a Friday night. It's just extreme banter and everything else. You know, you see it down the street. You're walking down. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad or anything else, but you know, you can be walking down the streets in a town or a city, and there'll be some. I've seen it myself walking around York. You know, some women lift the tops up and everything else, they've exposed themselves, but it seemed like, oh, it's just fun, you know. And
these are drunk women on Saturday night, not just general sober women in York.
Not in the market on a Saturday afternoon. You know, that would be a bit, you know.
And certainly, I'm going to say something that's going to actually tar people, but I noticed from the generation that were below me, no class, common as muck, and actually, strangely, from a lot of the girls. I mean, come on. And I'm talking the big stiletto brigade here. I mean, they were loud-mouthed, gobby girls who couldn't hold their drink. They were drinking like fellas, for heaven's sake. That's just unclassy for me. And they're the ones that
facing a kebab, that kind of thing.
That sort of stuff. And you're looking at the fellas that are hanging around them, thinking they've got a big job because they've got to look after them.
Yeah.
You know, and those poor lads that were with them. And I'm just thinking, come on, let's have a bit of class back now, everybody. But again, it's just one of these things where, you know, everybody's hyped now. We are so hyper about all these things, aren't we? And you know, you've got to think about absolutely everything, and it's exhausting, isn't it, with all this sort of stuff going on? And anybody can make an allegation of everybody. But I'm actually of the belief that you've got to be proven guilty.
You also have to have a sense of perspective as well, don't you? Because that's part of the problem, you know.
Hugh Janus, thank you for your super chat. He was saying to us here, with allegations, the process is the punishment. Now that I know what you're saying there as well. When you look at people like Noel Clarke, when you look at what John Barrowman has been saying, and I've been saying, that is a punishment. Look what Cliff and what he had to go through. That was a punishment because, you know, you were taking through some incredible moments, aren't you? And you know, you lose friends, you feel alone, you can get isolated, you can turn to dark thoughts, and it's not right at all.
BBC, I'm sorry, Jesse, I know this is again alleged, I can't remember actually, but didn't the BBC, in conjunction with the police, make sure that they had cameras there when it got raided as well?
Yes, allegedly. I'm sure they did, because I remember watching it on something. I was somewhere. Yeah. It might have been in one of my offices actually, and I was watching this thing. There was a helicopter on the house. What's going on? Is he dead? What's going on? You know, what's happening? And it was all because it was frightening. And I think, oh my God, what's happening? And it was because they'd made this. Anyway, we won't get into that. All alleged. It's all in the past now. It was all paid off, but it was part of that thing. Cybermatch strikes. Damn, I like The Doctor's Wife. How long before they remove it from streaming? And go on, Paul.
I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't take off Bannerman off of iPlayer. I'm glad they didn't, because they shouldn't have to do that. But I'm surprised they didn't in their haste to get rid of things.
Well, you know, there were alleged fans calling for that, weren't they? Yeah. All the Barrowman episodes to be removed, or him taken out of the episodes. That's not going to work, everybody.
No, I'm glad they didn't, because that's just nonsense, you know.
And there were certain people also calling that for Mr. Clarke. That's not going to work either. They, you know,
what does it achieve? What does it achieve? Does it make them feel that they're emphasizing a moral standpoint by having stuff removed, so they've seen it, so they've got it removed, so nobody else can? it's pathetic, though, isn't it?
If you're offended by them, don't watch their work. That's simple as that. You know,
and let other people make their minds up.
Yeah.
And this judging of people, I mean, we have to watch this and see where this goes. I mean, we're just being all hypothetically, we are discussing this as grown-ups. We're not taking any side of this. This hasn't gone to court yet. These are allegations. They are serious allegations, but nothing's going anywhere further. I did, as I say, today, try to check to see if it's moved anywhere further. It hasn't. There's no more news stories on this. So we'll keep an eye on it. But I just thought, yet again, it's somebody from that side of Doctor Who has been busy supporting all the stuff they've been telling us in the last few years, because you just know that allegedly he's going to support the whole thing about it's not for you anymore, it's moved on. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure Legion of James is saying to us they continue to get themselves in these messes, as you put it, JT, because of their hubris and arrogance and genuine believing that they are somehow above reproach. I'm getting that impression. Stephen Braddock saying to us, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And hello and welcome to Who's Views to Austin Woods, who's saying to us, love the art, not the artist. It's a good point.
Exactly.
I have the same issue with him. I'm a massive fan of Woody Allen. I love Woody Allen's movies, but because of what happened to him, you can't watch his stuff. And I like his comedy. I liked his comedy. I liked his movies. Very funny man. Yeah. But that's a personal taste. You know what I mean? But
well, it is. It's personal taste. But sometimes, I mean, we've said on the show, haven't we? We have to somehow remove the art from the artist. As Austin was saying there, I have to do that when I'm watching David Tennant episodes of Doctor Who to review for this show, because I don't like him anymore. He's not sitting anywhere I can relate to at all. And yet I have to remember, right, if we're going back to watch something from 2006, that was a different David Tennant. And actually you're watching it, you can't look at him, you've got to look at the Doctor, the performance, the character. That's not David Tennant. But it's quite difficult sometimes to do that.
This entire moral standpoint and trying to be morally superior, these people that have things removed and everything, it goes quite deep, doesn't it? Because you can't see, or you've got to really go looking to see old episodes of things like with Alf Garnett in Till Death Us Do Part, or Love Thy Neighbour, that were really using those choice racist terms and everything. They've taken them off because they think you won't be able to cope with it in 2025. But they're missing completely the point all along, even in the 60s and 70s, that these characters, and it was on both sides, wasn't it? These characters saying these allegedly offensive terms to each other about their skin color and everything else. The actual programs were written in such a way that they were designed and succeeded in highlighting the stupidity of racism. And it sort of like made you more aware of how stupid it was referring to people and criticizing people on the basis of their color and everything else. And instead of having that there, so even more people can be enlightened by looking at these people and going, what a bunch of knobs. Just why are you calling him that? Why are you calling him that? That's stupid. I don't want to be like that. Instead of that, they've just taken them away. And I don't see any benefit whatsoever at all. I just don't. They're trying to be the moral arbiters of future generations. And I think that's a really, really, really bad move.
It's shutting things down, which is really sad.
It is, isn't it? It is really. And the thing about those shows you mentioned there, Ian, as well, is that they actually laid the building blocks, if you like, for all the shows that followed them after, where everything was the norm. It set the template down. We've got Pooh's Lost Eyes saying to us, it's a slippery slope now. If they delete Gaiman's episodes, what stops them from deleting Gareth Roberts' episodes? Well, Golden Age Geek may actually have the answer there for you, Paul, Pooh's Lost Eyes, because he said it's different, though, JT. Gaiman doesn't appear in the episodes.
That's true.
It's an interesting way of looking at that, isn't it? Because he's a writer.
No, Clark's got stuff cancelled off him that he didn't appear in, he just wrote.
I mean, Golden Age Geek, it does open up a term saying, could it get so far? I mean, look what they did, or look what some idiots have tried to do with Rowling, J.K. Rowling. They burnt the Harry Potter books. Duh! What was the point? And who burnt books in history, I wonder? The very people you're accusing people who don't agree with you guys being. So they've done all that.
But that's the left-wing view, isn't it? Do as I say, not do as I do.
Yeah, but would this mean that books are removed from shelves? That's horrifying to
Well,
think.
they're already doing that with editing books, aren't they? With the Roald Dahl stuff and things like that, changing phrasing and words that may insult people, that kind of thing. They're already doing that. So it's just a matter of time. They do take them off the shelves and put them in a bonfire, like Fahrenheit 451.
War games, didn't they?
But
they did that with the war games, taking out fat. You're too fat.
Yeah. You're too black and white to make a colour.
Yeah. Woodhouse 122 saying to us, I hated both his Who stories and Good Omens. I was never a fan of the book. I tried to read Good Omens years and years ago. I can't get through a lot of this stuff. I really can't. There's one I can. Jay McGurran, nice to see you. Slumdog Day, isn't it? Hello. To me, Gaiman's Doctor Who episodes are way overrated. Nightmare in Silver was awful, and The Doctor's Wife was okay, but not a classic. I'll agree with you on that one. I don't know what the fuss was about, to be honest.
Just as an aside, in Nightmare in Silver, I like the idea of the Cybermen constantly, upgrade the meter problem. They fix it, upgrade in progress. A bit like they've almost sequestered something from the Borg, which were drawn off Cybermen anyway. So it's gone a little bit circle. But then they also had that bullet time thing, didn't they? Where they went really quickly, never ever seen again.
Yeah. It just makes them invincible, though. That makes them, there's no weakness, What I did like in that show was the cyber mites. They were quite nice, like them.
Yeah, they're really.
You know what? I've forgotten, completely forgotten about it all. Honestly, because I was so bored. I actually think I fell asleep during that episode. We've got here from Mark A. Wright. As the BBC have included all the No Clark episodes up on iPlayer, I can't see them removing Gaiman's. We will soon find out. And this will be another thing for us to come back and talk about, won't it, if they do. Hugh Jane is saying to us with a super chat, with allegations, the process of the punishment. I think I read that one out, Hugh. Thank you so much for that. And Golden Age Geek saying to us, I grew up with the revival, so the dramatic side of the show doesn't bother me as much. However, having watched all of Classic Who, I do understand why many people take issue with it. It's a good point as well, isn't it, really? Because, our Doctor Who didn't have all these dramas surrounding it because the time was different. Society didn't.
Thank God.
Yes. And also because I think as well, we didn't have people who were out to. I don't think there was any greed. I don't think there was any wrongdoing as such. I don't remember hearing any stories, even now, that the majority of them have all passed, of any bad conduct from any of them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember any of it.
I must admit, though, when all the stuff came out, sort of in the sort of past few years, of various BBC people, like the man you mentioned, who used to fix things for people like that. Yeah. In the 70s, there's so many people that came out of that that I was worried that maybe a Doctor Who person may come out of that from Classic Who, but luckily they didn't.
Yeah, I know there was always all the allegations about John Nathan Turner as well. Yeah. So there was that, but that came out years. I don't know. There hasn't been that many, and a lot of those allegations are allegations because he wasn't here to defend himself, and neither was Gary.
Yeah.
You remember though, two or 3 years ago, and I was ready to go to war on this, as you might imagine I would. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a bit of an attempt to tar Pertwee because of that promotional video.
Sure as you're.
Which he was reading from a script, by the way.
Yeah. Which is very funny as well, to be honest.
It was, and it was very 1970s, early 80s, wasn't it? It was, again, that era. You'd see it in the Sweeney if you watch that or anything like that. But they tried, didn't they? They tried.
Oh yeah.
Pathetic.
It was, but it was nipped in the bud very quickly, wasn't it? But again, you're right. There's this thing about trying to make something of nothing, isn't it? Really. Hello to Curtis from the Who Den who's joining us as well. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
I was just thinking about that myself, actually. He's right.
Yeah, there's lots of discussion from everybody here. Demorpin is with us. The allegations go much deeper than most people can see. Also, Amanda Palmer, his wife, has been well known as a narcissist and user/stroke abuser for decades. I knew people who knew her personally. Wow. As my nan used to say to me, though, bless her, the truth will out, won't it, Demorpin?
Yeah.
The truth will out. But again, it's this thing about, if there are people around these people in the industry covering up, well, that has to stop, surely. Where's the decency from these people?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because it seems to be every other week now we're hearing stories about another person from the entertainment industry. And as Ian alluded to earlier, I don't think it's going to stop. I think there's a lot more coming.
It's hysteria, though, isn't it? It's hysteria. It's not rational. or anything like that. There needs to be a calm viewing of things like that, but it never ever is. It just seems like to be one hysterical reaction after another to take, as we've said, a bizarre moral high ground.
It's just a knee-jerk reaction as well for most of it, isn't it? That's the problem.
It is. It absolutely is. Mark Greaves, thank you so much for your super chat here. In the military, you never leave a man behind. With these people, it's until you outlive your usefulness to the cause.
Yep.
It's like that was that line in that joke that Hale and Pace tell in Survival about outrunning his pal. It's like that, isn't it? That kind of. It's like,
you don't have to outrun the lion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Survival. Remember that in Survival episode 2 or 3 or whichever one it was. It's where the doctor says to the keepers, the shopkeepers. That's exactly it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And Bill Lowry saying to us here it is possible to enjoy the art without supporting the artists, and it's something, Bill, that I'm becoming increasingly aware that we have to do more and more.
Yeah.
And it's shocking, isn't it? It really is upsetting, especially when you're the fan of the longest running science fiction show in the world. And there are stories coming out more about the modern era than I ever remember about the proper era. And I find that a sad state on society and the way people look at people, thinking, is there a story on this possibly? Or can I make money from this possibly? Or
that's my take on it. I do think the cynical me thinks people are trying to make money out of him, and that's what it all is.
I mean, as cynics, that's going to happen, isn't it? We are going to say about that. We are going to think, and I think most people, will.
I mean, I don't want to trivialize the idea of someone being abused, because I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that people do jump on bandwagons and smell money and think I can sell this to the press or whatever, or some other way of blackmailing someone potentially,
Wow.
I think the way that the
Allegedly.
series has gone in the last the way that the series has gone in the last few years, and where now it's effectively championing sexual deviancy, that at some point something really, really bad is going to come out about somebody somewhere that has been so entrenched in the show, and it'll come out somewhere. There's going to be something. You can just see it a mile off, I think. And,
I mean, it's not going to stop, is it? Because even this week I've been hearing rumors that something else might be coming out very soon, but that's for another show if it happens. Don't want to go on that particular one, but I just thought, oh no, here we go. Neville, nice to see you, Neville. The thing is, these creative types are often not quite right or damaged in some way. It seems to be part and parcel of the creative process. We had comedians and certain actors for years where we were kids saying that because they were broken in some way, it made them good at what they were doing, whether it be because they can't fit into society or they can't communicate with people or whatever. Do you remember that, guys, when people were saying that?
Yeah, like the tears of a clown kind of thing.
Yeah, the tears of a clown.
Yeah.
Golden Age Geek also saying to us, the entertainment industry is built on relevance. As a result, those within it often backstab and manipulate each other to get ahead, disregarding morality and ethics entirely. I know what you're saying on that one, and I've actually sort of witnessed sides of that myself. But it does show you, doesn't it, how fickle some of them are in that industry when they actually have the nerve to turn around and tell the societies of the world what to think and how to act and what they should be doing. Blooming heck. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It just annoys me. Who Den is saying to us here, there is so much going on in the world. Doctor Who was my escape.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not anymore, sadly, but
exactly.
A classic series can always be that, can't it?
Yes,
absolutely. Hello to Prince Valium. That's a panto name if ever I heard one, but it's nice to see you. He's saying evening Who viewers. Good to see you, Prince Valium. Thank you so much for joining us. Interesting topic there, I thought, for you all, everybody. Thank you for that one as well. It just strikes me about what is going on. And again, we've talked about the hypocrisy of show business when it comes to Doctor Who over and over again. Here's another example of somebody that has been involved with Doctor Who. 2 stories. Will they stay on the iPlayer? Will this story go any further? Will it go to court? Will there be a judgment? We don't know. But I just thought, oh no, it's that lot again. It's that lot.
The universe is getting smaller and smaller, is it not?
In front of their eyes, I hope. And I hope they're all quite getting. Can you imagine? Do you think there was any phone calls this week from certain people to other certain people?
Oh God,
I bet there was. Yeah.
They've been ringing off the hook.
Yeah. Red hot. Yeah.
Scared that they're on the hook.
Glenn Piper's saying something here which occurs to me to be what we used to call common sense. I ignore allegations until someone has been proven guilty. I wish others would do the same.
Yeah, quite right.
This is one of the downfalls of having social media, though, isn't it? Because everybody can have a comment.
Well, it gets jumped on, then it gets exaggerated out of all proportion. Like I said, like the Bannerman thing, you know what I mean? So
yeah, if the world behaved like that sensibly, Noel Clarke could still have what he created.
Be employed, be employed, yeah. What have we got here on that one? Lex, nice to see you, Lex. Stay tuned with us on the channel because our new series, our latest series of Chit Chat, Lex has done a Chit Chat and he'll be here to talk to me on that later on.
I hope this comment he's made is actually true because that sounds fantastic.
Well, this is it. Thanks for your super chat.
Yeah.
Good news this weekend. President Trump has put together a movie committee who are Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight, all to help films. It's not just to help film, it's to help the industry as well to get rid of all the nonsense that's been going on there, isn't it? So interesting choice from President Trump there on the 3 that he's selected for that. I immediately, when I read that, guys, thought, ooh, they're not going to be popular, are they? If they're going to be his eyes and ears, when they walk into a coffee shop or on a set, how many people are going to go, oh my God?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But yes, that is true. That is happening. Maybe we need something like that for our industry over here. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at this from Raymond as well, who's saying about Noel Clarke. Noel Clarke later found out that the police were never investigating him as the women never actually made a statement against him. There was no case to answer. Unfortunately, they just told the press. Yeah, well,
and he was hung out.
Did he sue the press in the end? I'm not sure how this all turned out in the end, but did he?
Well, if he hasn't, he should do, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the accuser.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to make an accusation like that, you have to put up the evidence. You have to go through with it. You can't just say something to cause damage and then just slink away. You have to see that through.
Yeah. No, it's true. And again, innocent until proven guilty. I was brought up in the United Kingdom. That was so important. And it just seems to have gone down the toilet with all this nonsense since 2020, especially. Tim Kintz, nice to see you. Gareth Roberts has never done anything wrong. Yet somebody else that, of course, is being very obviously cancelled from Doctor Who. I don't think he's that bothered, though, to be honest. Gareth Roberts has never done anything wrong, which everyone knows, really. Nothing can and should happen to his episodes. He's just a decent man with a lot of common sense. And if you want to go see how much common sense, go and look at our Headlines special edition from last year, where Gareth was here on the channel talking to me about his brand new book, which is now available in paperback, called Gay Shame. Great chat there. And his insight, and he got that close to naming people, I'm sure, but his insight into the industry. It's a great chat. Go and have a look at that. It was brilliant to welcome him on the channel. And he's very welcome anytime, Gareth, because he talks nothing but sense. He's brilliant.
I was going to say one difference between Gareth and Neil is I prefer Gareth's episodes. I think they're better. So I miss him as a writer, I have to say. Gareth was good.
They're infinitely better. They never drop their style, do they? They're very consistently high quality.
Exactly. We've also got this from Cybermat Strikes, who's saying, if we forget or delete the mistakes of the past, we are doomed to repeat it. Now, I agree with that completely. But here in the United Kingdom, of course, we are repeating many mistakes of our past now because history has been slightly tampered with, or it's been rewritten, or not reported properly. And it's shocking, to be quite honest with you. I mean, the amount of cover-ups when it comes to certain stories in our country right now has just led to another incident and another incident and another incident, and it's enough to drive people mad. And I think it has, and it's just disgraceful. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think it's absolutely shocking on that one. We've got Van Zam with us as well. It blew my mind the first time I heard Warren Mitchell, the actor that played Alf Garnett, speaking in his normal voice, as he was well-spoken and not remotely close to being the character he played. Absolutely. He was an actor.
So he's just a good actor. That's the thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And he convinced generations of the British public. And then he would go on to...
If you ever see a film, I love this film. It's done very much in the style of... Jerry Anderson's UFO, because it's around that similar time, and I think some of the models might be the same. But there's a film called Moon 02, and Warren Mitchell's a bad guy in that, and he plays it completely straight as quite a menacing character, total normal voice, and then he appeared in a few Hancock's half-hour episodes, one as a bus conductor with a very Alf Garnett voice, another one as the head of a poetry society where he's very posh and cultured. He's quite
He
Really
plays a Russian in the Morecambe Wise film, The Intelligence Men, which is brilliant as well. Yeah.
I'm aware of that because I've
Got
seen
you.
pictures of that, but I haven't seen the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting that he's done all that as well. But there you go. What a character actor, though. Again, we're not seeing the like of that these days. Now all we're just seeing is personalities turning up for television and reading a bit of a script, in my eyes. Sometimes not even a personality. Lee
Who
Smith.
could you be talking about, I wonder?
I wonder. Look at your televisions. Lee Smith, Gaiman fans are destroying their books online. Oh.
Well, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to delete it. I've deleted it. There we go.
And then it'll come up as a purchase that you've already made and download it again.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Staggering behavior there, isn't it?
And then they go my Kindle as we speak. That's it, yeah.
Then they go online to show their virtuosity and say, oh, look at me, I'm on the right side of history. Oh, please. Anthony Green, this is what we say all the time, isn't it, fellas? Keep your physical media. Kindle books can and are disappeared or altered, ditto streamed media. Absolutely.
Although I won't be a chef by copies of Nightmare in Silver or The Doctor's Wife anywhere now. I can't get rid of them now. That's it.
Well, do you know what? You've just reminded me. The other thing I thought about this is, will those episodes appear in their new alleged target range?
Oh, yeah.
It was just a thought when I was in the bath the other night. It was just the thing of thinking, right, is this going to affect everything now moving forward? Interesting. Warren Mitchell was in Carry On Cleo, the slave seller, says Julie Wendy. Of course he
Marxist
was.
and Spencer, that's right. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
We've reviewed that, haven't we?
Yes.
We've reviewed that here on the channel, and we did mention him, I think. I think we did mention him there. So, yeah. And Kester Drone is saying to us, he plays a prom magician held ransom by thugs. It's a brilliant role. Yeah. So thank you for all that. But anyway, that's the latest that's come up with that particular one. Obviously, anything that we hear about on that as an update, we will bring on. But you know, goodness me, when is this madness going to end? Well, strangely, not anytime soon. To be quite honest, when it comes to Doctor Who and the circles we all walk in, or some of the circles we walk in, because this week there's been a lot of nonsense again on social media. Is it nonsense? Am I being too harsh? You can let me know as we go through this particular subject, because this is actually something that Paul and possibly even Ian talked about in either 2023 or 2024, because it stems from one of those, what's that making of show called for Doctor Who?
Doctor Who Unleashed.
Thank you. I'm that interested in it. I always remember. Anyway,
it's such a crap name. It really is. But
it's ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, that Doctor Who Unleashed, I think this is where this has come from. Back in when they were discussing this, or one of this. This is actually Phil Collinson, Jane Tranter, and Julie Gardner. And this week, a particular aspect of a chat they had at the end of 23, beginning of 24, hit the social media, and fans didn't like it. Why did it take so long? Is that particular part of fandom waking up, everybody? Let me know what you think, because this is what we're talking about here. This is where Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter and Phil Collinson are talking about Doctor Who of old, proper Doctor Who, our Doctor Who. It was seen as a kind of entertainment, says Julie Gardner. It was pastiche, silly property, she alleged, where Phil Collinson then came back and said, which is absolutely what had happened to the show in the 80s. So basically, you may remember this. This is where they were actually slagging off, for want of a better word, the 1980s version of Doctor Who. Now, my personal message to these people is, say what you want about it, but at least you can find the Doctor in his own episodes there. Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy are playing the Doctor. Some of the stories may not be up to your liking, but they're far better than any of the camp, nonsensical, agenda-driven nonsense that you're producing in 2023, 24, and into 2025. I can assure you of that. Look how many scores on the TARDIS doors Time Lash got, for example, on our show compared to your rubbish. I mean, I can't understand these people at all. I mean, Paul, you mentioned this to me so many months ago now about what they were saying, because at the time you weren't impressed by it.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I think it is, as we've said, or kind of alluded to already, you shouldn't throw stones in glass houses, because, you can't criticize something that you can't compete with. Because I think the standard of Doctor Who in the 80s is a million times better than it is now. Even the weaker stories that are considered weaker like Time the Rani or Twin Dilemma or Time Lash are far better than some of the stuff we've got now. So they can't possibly criticize it at all, you know.
I know. Ian and Paul, I just want to say there that Lex has given us another super chat. Thank you very much, Lex. Did you know that the late comedian and actor Tony Slattery has an audition tape for auditioning for the 8th Doctor? It's on the Tube of Who. I have to say yes, because I've seen that before, whether it be on the DVDs or the video or wherever. I had seen his audition tape before. I have also seen recently as well, Mr. Slattery, of course, passed away this week. So our condolences to his family and his friends there. Brilliant comedian. Not a bad actor, but certainly not the Doctor in my eyes, especially from that audition tape. And this week, Lex, I actually saw a reaction where Tony had seen, Mr. Slattery had seen the audition for the first time in years and was squirming and saying he was awful in it because he was, basically. He was terrible. But a fine comedian and not a bad actor at all. And our thoughts are with his family and friends at this very sad and difficult time. But thank you for that, Lex. We have seen that one. So we'll get back to what we're talking about. Daniel Raven is saying, fuming with what these people are saying here. Mike Disney saying it was seen as kind of entertainment. Wow, that's deep. Again, Mike, I would say better entertainment than the nonsense they've been peddling out over the last couple of years. Really annoyed me, this and that. And fans only coming to this a year and a bit later than we did. What was going on? Are they starting to get out from underneath their duvets? I don't know. Stephen Braddock was saying to us, what is this? New Who declaring war on Superior Classic Who? I think it is. Look what they've done to the Daleks in colour, the War Games in colour.
I think actually it started sooner than that, because when they did that awful Destination Skaro thing with Davros with legs, that was the start of it, because they're taking the mickey at the Daleks and the plunger and all that kind of stuff. They never did that before. That wasn't the trying to keep things very serious. Don't take the mickey at the Daleks, blah, blah, blah. They didn't do that kind of thing, and they did it with Destination Skaro. That was the start of it, with all these plunger gags and all that kind of stuff. You know, awful.
Yeah. A lot of you in the chat are annoyed about this. Our very own Kirsty is also saying to us here, don't crap on what made you big and don't bind the hand that fed you, blah, blah, blah. Yep, absolutely. Shut it, Collinson, says Matthew Pounder. And the current team have no right to criticize anything, says Paul Rose. Time Lord Victoria saying, true funny thing is they are explaining what is happening to the show now. The audacity. Can you believe it? Even the worst 80s Who is better than this pile of dribble. Absolutely, Time Lord Victorious. I can sit through anything from 1980s Doctor Who anytime. Can I sit through anything from Modern Who from after Capaldi? I certainly won't sit anything through anything from Capaldi. No, thank you. I'm not going back to anything I've had to witness for our reviews on this show when it comes to the Gatwick era, because once is quite frankly painful enough.
Yeah.
When we go there. Moriarty is saying, now, Paul, you'll be interested in this one. Joe Martin might be coming back for Shooty Season 2, apparently, according to Doctor Who Filming Locations X's feed. What was that about, Paul? Because you said something about that today, didn't you?
Well, apparently it was already been filmed a while ago, and she tweeted something, or whatever she did, about it a few months ago that she was in it. Yeah, apparently. But this website, this fan who's Doctor Who Locations, whatever it's called, he or she's been reporting on this quite a lot from different things. He did quite a bit about the Sea Devil thing as well recently, I think, as well. So he's quite a reliable source, but we'll believe it when we see it. But why is she coming back? She's not the Doctor. So
and yeah, wasn't successful when she was in it. So why would you? It's like ordering a meal. It's really crap, and you go back to the restaurant and order the same damn thing. If you do something wrong once, fair enough. If you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, then you're a little bit stupid, aren't you?
Yeah.
Really.
I'm hoping if she has come back, she's going to come back and say, actually, I'm not the Doctor at all, I'm another Time Lord, and all this timeless child stuff is crap. It doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen. We know our communities have about that. And even if they do bring her back, no bugger's watching it anyway.
Yeah.
Apart from
I'll tell you something. To be fair, she acted Whittaker off the screen. And I do not doubt she would do the same to Gatwa.
Yeah, she's a more convincing Doctor than both of them put together, definitely.
Yeah. The problem for me though is, of course, it's still a woman Doctor, which I don't want. Don't agree with. I won't watch. So hang on fire here for our season 2 reviews coming up from May onwards. Actually, when the series is actually going to start, because if she turns up, I'll be kicking off. Quite frankly, again, Raymond Williams, full of most of 80s Who is good. It's far better than this new RTD2, and they had no money. What's their excuse? It's a good point, Raymond. Yeah, because the Disney lot, the Bad Wolf lot, the BBC Studios lot, they had millions to play with. And what did they give us?
Talking about Earth. Sorry, JT. They're talking about Earthshock, Visitation, Caves of Androzani. How? I don't want to sound like Greta Thunberg, but how dare they? How dare they? Yeah. They are so arrogant and so consumed with their own pomposity that, you know, it's just unbelievable that
the self-importance, absolutely.
Yeah, that they can disparage stuff that's written by that Androzani. You know, it's anybody with any sense, it'd be in your top 5, wouldn't it?
Those stories aside, yeah, I'd rather watch Time Flight on a loop than watch any of season 1 again.
Oh, totally. I'm with you on that, and I can't stand Time Flight. I've watched it twice in my life, maybe 3 times. But
Anthony smashing, superb. Yeah.
Stephen Braddock is saying, I've just rewatched Enlightenment in tribute to Barbara Clegg. I would take it there, Steve. It's light years above today's drivel. Yes, it is. In fact, anything from the classic series, proper Doctor Who, as I like to call it, is far above anything from these idiots because it tells a story. It doesn't push an agenda. It's not all resolved in 45 minutes. It's ridiculous, isn't it, really? It's just, it's. I just don't know what they're talking about. Legion of James saying to us, the absolute deluded entitlement of these people, criticizing the very show that was so beloved and huge, it gave them their jobs years later. Let's see if anything they've contributed lasts this long. I think at this point, now we're bearing in mind that they hadn't had any, when this was first brought up on the show by Paul, it was the under 23, possibly the beginning of 24, but they hadn't had audience feedback or ratings in yet. Yeah. That when this was actually done, so they must have been quite excited about their new version of Doctor Who, with their new Doctor Who who's going to be loved by millions coming onto the screens, you know. And look at all the DEI they put into the show. It was so hip, it was so trendy. Really, it's now really, really out of date, as we all know. But it's one of these things. Again, it's the hypocrisy of the industry, isn't it? It goes right back to that, and the way that they've assumed sort of stuff. Oh, that series is out of date. That series is ridiculous. Now, this has also come from Who's Views as well. As you may be aware, this woke up fans this week. And we're talking not the sort of fans we all are, but we're talking about the fans that love the Whittaker era, love the Ncuti Gatwa era. Now, some of them have come out actually saying, actually, the 80s Doctor Who I quite like as well. And they've started to get at this, and they've started to question this all these months later. And they've started to look at all this. And they were also talking about Mr. Moffat and how Mr. Moffat had back in his day also criticized the original series. Once in a drunken tirade, which he said, oh no, I didn't mean any of that. But then it's come out that he said it again after that some other time. Yeah. So this has been a really rough week to an extent for all these people on the new version of the show. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's been a long time coming. I'll not name any names, but lots of YouTubers I've seen and people like that who are very pro Russell and Stephen and Ncuti, etc., being saying how awful they're not enjoying it, which is great, you know. So,
that's what I mean. Yeah. Have these people have this element, this small minority element of fandom, by the way, because don't forget, millions of us have walked away from it now, quite rightly. But are they starting to wake up? Bill Lowry is saying to us, it's a kind of entertainment, quote unquote, the right kind of entertainment, entertaining entertainment. And Paul
it's entertainment, full stop. Yeah.
Yeah. They've forgotten how to entertain, though, aren't they? Because it's agenda, dictate. Paul Stanford, what a cheek. These people don't have hardly any talent compared to the likes of Letts, Dix, Hulk, Adams, and many, many others. I would say anybody that worked on the show between 63 and 89. Mark Greaves is saying, if classic is so bad to them, why do they keep adding their crap to existing superior stories?
And drawing from it in the stuff that they allegedly write.
Yeah, exactly.
Davis can't help that at all. He can't help that. If he's not nicking from Robert Holmes, he's nicking from Terrence Dix or other people that are infinitely better and more skilled than he could ever be.
I've rattled our cage here with everybody. Thank you so much for all this. This is going to be a long show because I'm going to get through all of these. Just when I think I can't despise this current lot of charlatans any more than I already do, says Julianne Goodwin. Carwin, the problem today is they don't respect or are embarrassed by the work of those that went before. Lex, new Who producers need to shut up. Or as David Tennant would say, shut up. The 80s was the time I found the Doctor. The Doctor is more like the Doctor, not the Doctor we're getting in 2024. Did you spot the Doctor in 2024? Because I didn't.
No, he's gone AWOL, I think.
He has. It's that whole thing from Peter Capaldi onwards, some cosmic interference there that forced him into another body. It's a parallel. Farsight, Julie Gardner, she once said in Doctor Who magazine she didn't get Doctor Who, and yet she's earned quite a lot of money and had a lovely career out of it. Isn't that strange, everybody? Stephen Braddock's not very happy. How dare you criticize classic Doctor Who? Where would you be without it? Nowhere. Absolutely. What else? Look at this from Garbage again. She ain't the Doctor. Gatwa ain't the Doctor. RTD can't write. They will all go well together. Thank you for that. The Token Doctor, says Daniel Raven. Pooh's Last Eye saying Jo Martin was pretty decent in the show. She could play a good time lady, but please not the Doctor. Okay, thank you for that. John Henson, these so-called Doctor Who writers have a god complex. They are destroying superior writers' stories, changing lore of the show, a special bunch of idiots who hate the show and its fans. You're all being very honest with us here, and you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it. Paul Rose, look at this, he's being naughty. But JT, they're going to redeem themselves when they bring out the episode Drag Act of the Daleks. All will be forgiven.
I'd pay money to see that one, to be honest. That sounds quite good.
Yeah, that could be the movie version. We all have to pay £15 to go and see, couldn't it, really?
Yeah.
Oh, God, can you imagine that? Certain minorities...
With RuPaul as the Doctor, that's coming soon, that's it, yes.
You know, certain majority of the fan base would love that episode. They'd wet themselves, wouldn't they? They would wet themselves.
Do you remember there was I think he was a columnist for the Daily Mirror at one point called Victor Lewis Smith. I think he may be dead now, I don't know. And he had a sketch, didn't he, with the gay Daleks hanging around toilets and things like that. I was amazed. I was amazed he got that through the Nation Estate. They probably didn't know.
I don't know if they did actually eventually. I'm sure something in the databanks is saying to me they actually tried to close him down or something to do him.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they did a sequel to this and tried to make it canon. It really,
it's ridiculous.
But
this afternoon, says Ark in Space, I watched Battlefield, Earthshock, and The Five Doctors. 3 examples of great 80s Who.
Yeah,
absolutely to these people. Paul Stenterford, Collinson et al. Wish their Doctor Who productions will last as long as anything from the classic series. Their stuff plays out like really bad fan fiction. I was having this discussion with one of the the new series stalwart fans, if you like, who was actually getting his fellow new series fans because they were disagreeing with what these 3 had said, and he was actually agreeing with them, saying, "Oh, you can't watch old Doctor Who; it's rubbish." Blah blah blah, all the usual nonsense that we had. And that we've been living through, and basically it was getting a little bit at the usual sort of stuff here, and I was saying things like that, just saying, you're talking absolute nonsense. Go and watch these episodes. Go and have a look at it. He hadn't even heard of the episodes I was telling him to watch.
Yes, easy to criticize when you've not seen them. You have to watch them and see them properly to understand them.
Because something had said, or he'd been possibly told by alleged producers and stuff like that, you don't need to go back and watch it or whatever. So when I'm saying to them, go and have a look at these episodes, have you seen this? What did you think of? And Androzani was he, and one of the ones I mentioned, of course, because it's one of our favorites, isn't it, for all fans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then when I come back and I said, well, listen, we're now in 2025, and I'm telling you of stories I had when I was younger than you are now, taking the time to come and argue with me. And they're still there, and they're still being talked about. Are you trying to tell me that the Devil's Board and Space Babies will still be talked about in 30 years' time? And he was trying to insist that they would be.
Yeah,
because it's
there's no rewatchability for the new stuff at all. It's not got any. There's no layers to it. That's the problem, Unlike classic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Komodo, hello to you. Nis and Tegan being contaminated was really chilling. I think you're either talking about Mordred and Dead.
Yeah.
Mordred and Dead, possibly Terminus. Oh, no, Nis wasn't in that one, but Mordred and Dead. But again, this was proper science fiction stories we got back in the day. They wouldn't possibly do things like this. Or if they do, like they did in the last one, Empire of Death, everybody's bumped off and then brought back realistically at the end of it. In proper Doctor Who, when you were bumped off, you stopped getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you were off. Right, thanks, love. You're a wrap. Bye, darling.
There was one thing And I hope they do it again at some point. We do a whole history of Doctor Who rankings thing, because in the 60th they did it per Doctor, so you didn't see how low down in the pecking order the new stuff was compared to the old, because they did it per Doctor. So it was skewed a bit in terms of the figures, which I'd love to see a proper series kind of ranking to see how that would work out.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh gosh, loads of you in the chat commenting on this. We've got more about this particular subject to come for you, but it's great to see you all. Paul Schlufter, it is embarrassing considering what a flop season 1 has been, isn't it just? And remember this, as I say, I've got to make it clear that this has only just surfaced this week, but they did say it. I think, Paul, you came to me at the end of 2023 with this, and we talked about it a bit on whatever show we were talking about at the time.
Yeah. You've got a very good memory, JT.
Yeah, well, I remember these things because we talk about it. So I was thinking, hang on a minute, this is familiar. So yeah, but they only found it this week. Where have they been? Mark Milford, those who can't build will always seek to tear down others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And William Orlock, 86. Nice to see you, William. How are you? Love the idea of these young Whovians, I hate that term, discovering proper Doctor Who and revolting like the humanized Daleks. Reading Mr. Hines' novelization, by the way. Are you? That's Fraser's version of Evil of the Daleks, of course. Let me know if you like it.
Yeah, I've not read it. What's the difference between that and the TV version? Is it from Jamie's point of view or something? Is it?
No, it's just got a different cover, I think.
Is that it? Okay. No.
Storylines.
I'm saying nothing, but the bookmark's halfway through. Put it that way. Yeah. Do you think, says Glenn, that they actually watched proper Doctor Who? A question. No. Well, this fella that I was discussing things with obviously hadn't, and he was. I think he was in his 20s. His late 20s. He did tell me how old he was. 'Cause I remember thinking, you know, nothing.
Well, it's like when you watch the official podcast and all the experts are on there and they know nothing about Doctor Who at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, unless it's the Doctor Who that's run from Chris Chibnall's time, they know everything about that one, don't they?
Yeah.
Or or even they might go back to 2005. But even now, if you look at anybody, no offense to Emilio or to Kirsty or to Miles or any of the younger ones joining us, if they were young in 2005, they're not anymore. So we've got Gilliam saying to us, it's going to take more than a new team to what's that? To rewind the Doctor today? I don't know, a team to rewrite the Doctor today. It needs a 5 to 10-year-old layoff. A lot of us on this show really believe that. And I'm of the opinion, Gilliam, that it's on the way, I can say. But yeah, so the whole point of this is that this was on social media this week, this whole thing from this particular interview, if you want, chat, whatever they were trying to do, where they did actually get at proper Doctor Who, namely in the 80s. They wouldn't dare go after Pertwee or Baker, I'm sure, but they tried to do Pertwee, Baker and McCoy, and it's still backlash this week. And it's lovely to find out that, of course, thanks to the repeats, thanks to the iPlayer, thanks to the Blu-ray collections, it's wonderful to hear that the Doctors, the original 7 Doctors, are still getting new fans, which is more, guys, than it appears Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor or version of the Doctor might be getting. Did you see this week on Doctor Who TV? Now, they've recently run the now traditional season survey polls. I used to love them in Doctor Who.
Oh, so did I. Yeah.
I mean, should I vote for Logopoulos or should I vote for this? Or which one's my favourite? It was, I had to do it in pencil first. Anyway, here we go. I digress. But this is the verdict on their social media post from Doctor Who TV this week. Update. This post has now been updated to include the 2024 Christmas special, Joy to the World. It's time to reveal the results of our episodic polls for Series 14 of Doctor Who, also known as the episodes that aired in 2024. As always, I know, can I just say, how many television shows that keep the same name now have 3 Series 1s?
Yeah.
Stupid, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. The first one, the proper one, 63, right? Then you've got the 2005 one, and now you've got the 2024.
Yeah.
Oh God, headache time, isn't it? It's ridiculous. Anyway, where was I? As always, we asked you, this is Doctor Who TV, to rate the episodes on a scale from 1 to 10. We then took an average. After over 25,000 votes, now call me old-fashioned, but I think that's quite low. Here's how things panned out from the lowest rated to the best. Do you remember when Doctor Who Monthly would get million?
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy. Yeah.
And it would take them nearly a year to count the blooming things, wouldn't it, really? Do you remember they'd always come back with a very polite, well, sorry this took so long for the results of the season. But there's only 2 of us in the office and we were busy drinking coffee. I'm breaking the rest of the magazine. Do you know that sort of thing?
Yeah,
That's to run around with a clipboard 24 hours to try and count it. But anyway, here we go with this, everybody. Isn't this interesting? So this is, after over 25,000 votes, from the lowest rated to the best. Are you ready? This will bring a smile to your face. At number 9 was Space Babies with an average voter score of 4.48. At number 8 was The Empire of Death, average voter score 5.04. And Rogue went straight in, everybody, at number 7 with an average voter score of 5.25. At number 6 was The Devil's Board with 5.57. Joy to the World, the latest Christmas thing, got in at number 5 with an average voter score of 5.66. 6.06 was the average voter score for Dot and Ethel, which went in at number 4. And then we've got here at number 3, 6.94, 73 Yards, 7.09, The Legend of Ruby Sunday at number 2, and Boom with 7.10 average voter score at number 1.
I thought 73 Yards would be number 1, but that's interesting. Yeah.
Now, bearing in mind, this is Doctor Who TV, which would probably be consisting of a mix of fans, I would say. But I would guess not many of a certain age group, i.e. anybody that was from like 25 upwards. Possibly.
It's interesting Space Babies is last, so that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, this is what I'm wondering about Waking Up, because the article then goes on to say, or the site then goes on to say this: it was close, but once again, a Stephen Moffat penned story ultimately rated higher than every other episode of the run. This trend we saw during RTD's first era continues into his second. However, while the result is respectable on its own, it still ranks among the lesser contributions when compared to Moffat's other episodes. 2024 episodes overall. With these results, the Series 14 average for all 8 episodes is 5.94. If we include the Christmas special, the average is slightly lower at 5.91. This is, sadly, another disappointing result for Doctor Who. The second Davies era showed some promise at the start with the 60th anniversary specials, but has quickly dropped back down to a level where even the 3 series of the divisive Chibnall era scored higher series averages. Comparing the post-air rating results, Series 11's average was 6.70, where Series 12's was 6.62 and Series 13's was 6.30. Therefore, according to Doctor Who television voters, the show has been on a consistent decline since 2018. So RTD really needs to step up his game with Series 15. Now, this is
Bedweir was right.
This is from a fan site that thinks this is obviously brilliant, but its own users, the people that connect with it, aren't impressed. Isn't this interesting, everybody? I'm going to say it again. Is Doctor Who fandom finally waking up to the fact that they're being fed utter nonsense?
It's about time.
It is.
Yeah. God,
And we've had criticism, gentlemen, over the last couple of weeks for Bedweir's rating analysis on this very show.
Yeah. They can't all be Gaiman, surely.
Well,
they'd say so, wouldn't they? They would say
so, yeah,
so, because it's the only place they can go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's quite embarrassing for them, isn't it? It's very embarrassing for Davis, and it's thoroughly deserved, and I hope it hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people are going to be obviously from the production office or anything like that. I don't think they're going to be looking at all this. But by God, they absolutely shouldn't they? A lot of you again in the chat.
See it, and it will get mentioned. Somebody will see it, and it will get mentioned.
Of course they do. I'm absolutely convinced with this, and this is why I think there's been a party line to things like DWM, etc. Push this, back us up. And if they don't, they're going to get licenses revoked or something like that, or they're all living in fear of crossing a line where certain production team people would come along and say, excuse me, that's not lining up with the brand. That doesn't line up with the brand. Fix it or out the door. Allegedly. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's all here. I just think it's bizarre. We've got Legion of James saying to us, so according to TV voters, the show is shit unanimously. Yes, it's exciting. And the reason I hasten with that is I don't know if we're allowed to say that on this platform anymore. I don't know. But yes,
you can't say shit anymore.
Oh, I don't know. But it's hard to say because although anyway, but yes, isn't it? This is what I'm saying. Is Doctor Who fandom waking up? Because are they actually seeing through? And don't forget as well, a lot of Doctor Who fans that are watching this thing and loved Doctor Who could be watching this and not active on social media, really, and not wanting to get into the bickering and the nonsense that goes on with this. Maybe. Paul Rose, I'm surprised Doctor Who magazine is still running. The readership must be very low. That's one for Bedweer. I'm going to say again, I've tried to get those figures actually, Paul, and they're behind paywalls now, and I'm not paying £25 for the information at this time. Sorry.
I was going to say about DWM though. I mean, they maybe want to keep their license, but if they've no readership, they're going to be folding any minute now, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
I think they've been walking a tightrope for quite some time. I accept that it can't be easy for them. Obviously, having to be careful that they don't write anything that a bunch of thin-skinned melts in Wales might not like, and therefore will punish them. But they are very much of that. Mentioning churches a lot tonight. They are very much of that church, though, aren't they? They don't give any other in stuff away from DWM. They still make comments that show that they're very much aligned. Anyway,
or they don't make any comment at all, or it's when I've spoken to various people connected with the show, even people connected with the show of the past, and it comes up, they'll put the party line out there, and I can hear it so much. I think, hang on a minute, I'm going to change the subject here because I'm not going to get anything from you. Let's talk about the football, which I'm no good at, or let's talk about the weather, or let's talk about something else. Do you know what I mean? Never talk to these people about politics, by the way. Never. Demorpin is saying to us, I don't think most people could come up with a more incompetent and vapid and fake show as the official podcast if they actively tried. I totally agree. And I've never watched it. This one has. I wouldn't watch it because I know what's going to be delivered. It's the approved script.
I watched it for research purposes. The last one that was on at Christmas, I couldn't sit through. It was awful. It's the worstest ever program.
And with cringy presenters as well, who are just they are getting paid, and and rightfully so for them. They will do what they're told. I've said many times, you're better sticking to the Tube of Who and shows like ours and all the millions around us as well, for honest approaches and real views, because we're not getting paid by the BBC or anybody else unless they want to, and then we'll change the entire channel. Do you know what I mean? It'd be very difficult, but if they're
shooting bestest ever Doctor.
It's not going to happen, is it?
No. Mike Disney, the series. No, it's not. This series reset's been done to rewrite the past, as in Maoist Year Zero principles. Daniel Raven was saying 73 yards, clearly the best, question mark. Sharda Knox, Space Babies is the single worst episode of Doctor Who ever. That's at least until season 2 of Disney Who airs.
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
I have to say, Sharda, a lot of people that were coming back on this as well from comments and stuff like that on the various platforms were actually saying that they hope series 2 has upped its game. And they thought that clip, which they're all calling a trailer, it wasn't a trailer, folks. It was just a tease. Shows that they may have done that, but you can't judge it from something that lasts 10 seconds. You've got to judge it from the entire 8 episodes that are on the way.
That's probably the best bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what they always do in trailers.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. Yeah.
It's interesting though that survey, that the series premiere was bottom, and the next bottom was the series finale. Yeah. It doesn't really say much about all the bilge that went in the middle either, does it? Although I do think Boom is incredibly overrated. I wish he'd moved on that landmine and it had gone off. Yeah. And I think 73 yards was the clear winner, partially helped by the fact that ridiculous buffoon wasn't in it.
Yeah. In hindsight, Space Baby seems even more retarded, says Komodo. I can't remember it now. I just remember it being a load of old poo. Bill Lowry's saying to us all very low scores, but it was all tight, so that's understandable. And Pooh's Lost Eyes saying if RTD was taking this seriously, it could be good, but he's not. He's arsing around. And Ncuti Gatwa is not a serious choice for Doctor Who. I hate to say it, but I agree with you now because of the reasons I've said before. Standing on a landmine for 50 minutes, riveting, says Matthew Pounder. You didn't like Boom, did you? I know that one. And Forbidden Man saying 25,000, it's pathetic. The others must have drifted off to touch grass too. Absolutely they did. Now, somebody I know who will remain nameless also said to me that after every episode, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, God bless them, hello to you lot, they run episode polls, how to rate the episode type thing, basically. And apparently over the years, that's been going down with however many people, so I am told and led to believe, are voting for it. That says an awful lot as well, doesn't it, really? Stephen Braddock is saying Bedweer is vindicated. He always is, because as you know, Bedweer's ratings analysis are spot on correct. You can pass them around. They're done from actual data, the real data here in the UK. So they are spot on correct. So yes, that's why I thought this story was also quite interesting for you all who viewers, because it ties in with the fact of what we've been saying. And it looks like people, including the minority that were loving this thing, aren't interested anymore with this new version. They're drifting away. They really are. What's this from Golden Age Geek? I understand your point, JT, but first impressions are everything. For me and others you've had on your show, we were introduced to Doctor Who through the revival, and that is our Doctor Who. Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But
the thing about that, I mean, revival who started quite well, but it has gone down, and I think even people who got into Doctor Who from the revival must feel that this isn't very good, surely, you know.
And I think it's very, very clear, isn't it? We have said this before, that the high points, literally, I would say all of the high points of the revival of Who were certainly by people writing them that weren't Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Oh, we've got the second part of that from Golden Age Group. That won't change. Even we acknowledge that Classic Who is objectively better in many respects. It's the same with Star Wars. The prequels aren't as good, but they are my Star Wars. Oh, and there's another one coming up as well. I'll try and get to that one as well. I'm not saying anything like that. I think if people have come in to Doctor Who from 2005, that's what we wanted. You've got to understand that, Golden Age Geek. Fans like us wanted that. We wanted a new fan base coming through, because we knew and understood that was important to the longevity of the show. And we wanted this show to succeed. It's 20 years old this year, this show, and it's had more reboots than the original series had, quite frankly. It's changed the lead character. So I'm not saying personally that, you know, you're wrong to like this new version of Doctor Who. I'm glad you were there, because I liked it. I enjoyed it right up until the agenda started to creep in. I would say definitely with Capaldi. And that's when I started to go, oh no, what are they doing? Because that was all starting to get into the BBC then. But with the latest two reiterations, with, in my opinion, the most spectacularly miscast actors in the lead role of the Doctor for number 13 and 14 and 15. Sorry, I'm getting all confused again now, but the last two. It doesn't surprise me that people who grew up with the show now from 2005 are going, hang on a minute, because it's not the same show. It's not the same show at all, is it? So they have, you know, they have a right to say, I don't like where you've taken this show now, because it's not even suitable for CBeebies, to be quite honest.
When Tennant came back, was that the Tennant they remembered?
Oh, he was totally different. He was like more arrogant. I still don't understand why they even did that. Why didn't they just bring back the 10th Doctor and Donna from part of the timeline series 4 and just have a laugh and go with it?
Exactly, yeah.
Shocking, wasn't it? Lex, thank you for your super chat. Let's wish Tom Baker happy birthday. We did at the top of the show. Thank you for that. Where were you? Why were you late? I'll have lines from you. How dare you? But we'll get back on that. Moriarty saying, Whose views? New tagline: Get woke. Give it a minute. Become awake. Garbage saying, I only saw Boom and that was voted the best. It was meh at best.
I think we all had high hopes of that being a good episode, but it was meh, wasn't it, to be honest?
It was meh. It was, and he cried again, didn't he? Was that the first one he cried in?
Baby crying.
No, he cried from episode 1, didn't he? He didn't cry in the giggle, did he? But he cried in the other first one.
We did.
Yeah. Did he cry in the giggle? When was that? Was it?
No, we did.
Oh, we did. Yeah. He probably did cry in it somewhere. But,
I don't know. I can't remember any of it.
But he ran the gamut of motion from A to C, didn't he? In Boom, didn't he? So,
yeah.
Yeah, because C's for crying. I think that was the
crying. Does this make even the Gen Z fans gammon now to Stephen Braddock? Yes, is my answer to that. And Woodhouse wanting to. Doctor Who TV is not a bad site, to be honest. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I think the result of their season survey, if you like, was very, very interesting, because they've admitted there that this series is now in trouble, as we've all been saying and been getting some backlash from. Let's have a look here. Carmen, what you're telling us, I saw a young girl that saw coloured war games and said it was better than Joy to the World. Well, if you think that trash is better, you need to see the original. The thing about that I'm thinking about Carmen there is it says an awful lot that a truncated, butchered version of the war game still comes out best to a young lady than Joy to the World.
Yeah.
That still says something, doesn't it? And if she enjoyed it, fantastic. But let's hope she goes and looks at the original 10-parter, because she'll be bloody blown away, wouldn't she? You know, she'll be like, oh my God, what is this? You know, proper storytelling as well. Because I still think the kids will watch a proper story evolve.
Yeah.
We've got from Paul Rose, it's either good or bad, it's simple. And most fans and the general public think it's bad because it is. Absolutely, I agree with that. Oh, Golden Age Geek, here's his third part. Having seen Classic Who, I don't like the romantic elements in the revival as much now, but they still won't bother me as much as they do for you. Yeah, that, I mean, again, because of the reason, I won't speak for these two, but the reason is the Doctor is an alien. He's a Gallifreyan, he's a Time Lord. And we were all brought up on the storytelling of the Doctor was not attracted to any of his companions, because that's not what Doctor Who is. When you bring romance and sex into shows, it messes, like life, it messes everything up completely when you bring all the emotion into it. It just, for me, no.
It was just pure friendship and affection. That was the entire thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when we had romance such as it was in the original series, it was like Susan staying with David, but not the Doctor. And it was Joe Grant with Cliff Jones, and it was not the Doctor. You know, the Doctor in many respects was peripheral to that little party at the end, and he stayed on the edge, had his drink, and left, didn't he? And
drove off into the sunset, beautifully shot by Michael E. Bryant.
Oh my God, that was an amazing scene. And the book, book, a single tear. This is where you can believe the Doctor would have emotion.
Yeah.
A single tear ran down his 750-year-old face. I could accept that. Gatwell with his constant waterworks, get out. Not the Doctor at all.
But you didn't actually see the tear though on the TV show.
No, it was you know, it was just the car and the silhouette in the distance, wasn't it, on the hill? But
it was done through the acting. It was subtle enough to get the emotion across without being right in your face. You know, it was well acted.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Julianne,
he took his drink, he looked at the glass, put it down, and went out the door. And you saw Joe just look round, seeing the door shut. My God, that had impact.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Julianne.
And then you got two gorgeous sheepdogs wandering around as well. If you notice that,
hilarious. The scales are falling from their eyes, she says. And Mark Greaves has given us a super chat saying, hang on a minute. They found 25,000 people who admitted watching this. This sounds like a cover-up. Let's check with Bedouia. I just expected it to be more for such a popular site. Do you know what I mean? But it said to me that, and they can come on and talk to us about this, but I'm expecting them to get more hits per day. And only 25,000 decided they were going to spend the time to rate the thing, possibly because some of them weren't watching it or some of them weren't impressed with it. But those that did vote obviously are not impressed, because Doctor Who TV, God love them, have come out and said RTD has to up his game for the next series, which of course we know he hasn't, because it was done at the same time. This is what gets me about this as well. Why are all these some of these fans not realizing the thing was filmed at the same time as the last one, so it's not going to change that much, because he wrote it all in 2022, 23, 24, all at the same time, you know. Golden Age Geek back with the same. Rogue should be considered the worst story of the latest season. I hate that story. It's certainly one of mine. I hated that as well, because they made him which he should never. He's not. What are you saying, Ian?
Soft porn. That's all it was. It was Russell T Davies trying to make soft porn, in my opinion.
It was awful. It was awful. Absolutely terrible. Embarrassing is the word I'd look for there. We've also got here from Legion James, the writing is truly on the wall when even the mythical new audience can't stomach this garbage. Hopefully now the Doctor will finally get an undetermined length of time on the shelf, because it needs it. And my goodness, I'm sure the BBC are actually aware of that. JT says, Paul Rose, have you heard the latest plan to scrap the TV license and replace it with a tax? If they don't allow a vote on that, they'd lose. How is that legal or moral? Well, I have heard
a tax already, isn't it? Let's be honest. But
if they make it a general,
you still have the option to cancel.
People that don't pay it, aren't they?
Yes.
JT again.
Yeah. If it comes from our tax, the BBC are going to be delighted, because they're going to get an immediate overnight increase by millions.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay for their nonsense. And I think what they are proposing, or what Lisa Nandy has actually suggested, is utter nonsense. And there's no way it can be carried through. There's no way, because it's undemocratic. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm dealing with a party that is undemocratic and happens to be the government of our country. Let's have a look. Daniel Raven saying to us, I still remember the Doctor Who magazine review of The Rings of Akatan. It was so brutal. Was it really? But I think it must have woken up somebody at BBC Studios, not Enterprises Studios, because that never happened again. There was certainly a change in DWM where it went from actually being balanced to being all about the party line. I noticed that as well, Daniel. And it was during the Moffat era, because I remember thinking, oh, he's cracked the whip here.
It's okay to slag off classic Who if you're a producer, though. That's fine.
Do as I say, not do as I do.
Yeah, exactly. What we got here? Season 2 is going to be worse, says Woodhouse 122, with Rylan in a Eurovision and space episode. Sounds horrendous. We'd heard the rumours that Rylan, Aurora Teeth, was going to be in this. But if it's a Eurovision style episode, you just know where that's going to be screened.
Yeah.
On Eurovision night when it comes back in May. Oh, God. And that ties in with John Mason saying to us, JT, are you really going to sit through the next series, you masochist?
So you don't have to.
I reckon that Eurovision Song Contest will have another twist at the end, no doubt.
Yeah.
There
is a musical episode coming, we
yeah.
believe, in this series. We have heard there is a musical one coming.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll be all here because, yes, we are going to be looking at it. So hopefully
I watched the I watched the proms that was on at Christmas, and they did that routine in it. And there's a great shot. I don't know to cut this. A great shot of a lady who's a fan sitting in the front row when that bit was on. She was like that.
Yeah.
She was very obviously embarrassed. It was brilliant. It's worth going back to watch that bit. Yes,
I might have a look at that then. I might have a look at that. This topic is quite rightly forming a lot of opinion. Thank you very much for being with us all here. Eastlyn Burkholder, I know, nice to see you. I like the Eccleston Doctor Who. He was cracking, actually. So we're going to be coming back to talk about Eccleston very shortly on the channel. Stay with us. And Robert Payne, not only did it change the lead character, but it changed the origins and nature of the lead character. That's why I say, actually, everybody, that the version of the Doctor you're watching now isn't the Doctor, because Chibnall rewrote the character to get back at people like me, who were saying, actually, that doesn't fit. This unnecessary gender change doesn't fit the narrative of the character. And the line that always comes out in my head, and there are many that prove the point, is the Fifth Doctor in Black Orchid saying, as a boy, I always wanted to drive one when he was looking at a train.
Yeah.
That lovely line there, which immediately associated the Doctor with lots of little schoolboys around at the time, because we all knew the gag. But he had to go back and say, well, actually, he was born a little girl. So it doesn't make any. It's just not Chibnall.
You think the Doctor would remember that, wouldn't he? To be honest, apart from that convenient, let's wipe his mind. That's what happened. Yeah. So. Yeah,
utter rubbish. Golden Age Geek. Sorry if these previous comments came across as very forceful and mean-spirited. That wasn't my intention. No, they didn't. You're absolutely fine. And that's the whole thing about Who's Views. Put your point across. Yeah. But we have got some shows coming up for you, Golden Age Geek, which I hope you're going to love. So stay with
Can I ask Golden Geek if he like Shooty's first season or not? As a new Who fan, out of interest.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting to know.
Legion of James saying to us, yes, JT, you're so right. We wanted the reboot to succeed and encourage new fans to join our beloved world to enjoy it all. But then it changed and people joined with one goal of erasing the past. I keep saying, had the RTD2 era been just like he'd originally done it and had been proper science fiction, we wouldn't be sitting here or looking at these reviews, giving it 0 out of 10 on scores of the TARDIS doors. And I would certainly be supporting it more than I do with it now. Because when people say to me, oh, are you a Doctor Who fan? I'll say I am. And then I'll give them the dates, quite frankly. I'll give them the dates. 63 to 89, massive fan. 2005 to 2000 and, what was it? Wherever Capaldi left, 13. Yes. And then I'll tell them I waver towards the end of Capaldi's time. It's amazing how many people say to me they remember Capaldi. Actually, they're not wees. They say to me they remember Peter Capaldi. Or did you bloody well watch on the night what happened? Do you know what I mean? So that's all coming up for you there. What else have we got on this particular subject as well? Some of you have as you've seen, mentioned Bedouia's rating analysis here on Who's Views on the headlines, which is absolutely 100% accurate. He puts a lot of work into it. He gets all the facts correct. They're there. Where the people slag us off about them, you can go and look at some of the comments. They're all there. Hello to you lot. They are facts. Bedouin is not lying. He doesn't care. He just comes on the show, tells us the facts, and goes off and has an ice cream. But
Bedouin is with us, actually.
is he in the chat? Hello, mate.
He
Hope
is
you are well. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday. But the latest one was also this week from Telemix. The official ratings for week 1 of The Traitors are in, and they're massive, with over 9 million tuning in. That's over 3 million more than last year and even higher than the first series. The Traitors is now officially bigger than Strictly Come Dancing, and Claudia Winkleman is on fire. So they, again, I mean, that was celebrated again. Their overnights are celebrated. Their consolidators are separated, and Doctor Who is way down here.
My question for Traitors is why it's watched by many people. I have no idea.
I've never seen it. I have to be honest. It's on the BBC.
Yeah, I've seen clips of it.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't see the attraction either, but it just flies in the face again of what's been said, that nobody watches live TV.
Yeah,
exactly. They will. And I've said it before, Ian. I've said it again, and I'll continue to say it. If you, people in charge of television, produce something that hits and resonates with the public, of the great British public, and they want to watch it, they will sit down on the night with a cup of tea and a digestive biscuit, and they will tune into your show. And that is not happening with a lot of your shows, including Doctor Who. Could it be that 20 years is enough? This is now an old show. Has it had its day? It certainly seems that way. Are the fans waking up? I don't know, but we're certainly awake. You're watching Who's Views. This is Headlines. It's Sunday, the 19th of January, 2025. You're very welcome. Carrying on with this subject, because I do say it is 20 years old now. Why are you lot still all calling it New Who? It's old Who now. It's 20 years off. If it gets through this particular year and lasts another 6, it'll be on a par with the original series. It's not going to happen.
What does that make classic Who's that ancient Who now?
Proper Who.
Yeah.
Stylish Doctor Who. That's what I would say. But listen, what happens now that the show is 20 years old? And yet again, this is tying in with our discussion about, are Doctor Who fans actually waking up? Because did you see this from bleedingcool.com? Doctor Who, the dilemma of keeping a 60-year-old franchise fresh. Doctor Who has 2 eras and 2 sets of fans who now complain that the current era isn't as fresh or new. So what can a 60-year-old show do? Now, my argument before we get into this, gentlemen, is, of course, it's not actually 60 years old. The original version of the show is, but the reboot is 20. And yes, they did try to tie it in, didn't they? RTD back in 2004, very insistent. This is going to be Doctor 9. This is Doctor 9. This is Doctor 9. It's a continuation. And then they go and mutilate it to the point where it's not even the same character, because they've all brought in their own agendas and their own ideas, and they're all their fan fiction, quite frankly. So listen, I would say that it's not a 60-year-old show that's looking tired here. It's a 20-year-old show. Let me know what you think of that as we get into this. Ooh, I'm stirring it tonight, everybody. But this is what Bleeding Cool had to say. When Doctor Who was unofficially cancelled in '89, because the BBC never admitted it was officially cancelled, it had been around since '63. When he revived and revamped the series in 2005, something we're never going to hear the end of, by the way, RTD said as much as he and legions of fans still loved the show, it was taken off the air because it had gotten old. He freshened it up. He freshened it up with not only a bigger budget for 21st century production values and special effects, but also a post-Buffy approach to storytelling, pushing motions more to the fore and casting major British acting talent, both A-list and up and coming. He turned Doctor Who into an A-list show that attracted a new generation of kids and female fans to watch it, hitting gold with the casting of Tennant. Stephen Moffat kept that moment going for a few years by building on that foundation with Smith and Karen Gillan as the Doctor and Amy Pond. By the time Chibnall took over as showrunner, the series had begun to feel staid, not helped by some lackluster scripts, despite maintaining enough of a core audience. Then RTD returned to usher the series into its Disney Plus era, and he had to refresh the show. The article then goes on to say there are now 2 schools of complaining fans. The Disney Plus era of Doctor Who is a revamp of the series with an even bigger budget than before and still popular, but long-time fans are now complaining. Again, Doctor Who now has two different generations of fans. The ones who loved the original version that ran from 63 to 89, and the ones who loved the revival that began in 2005, and whose era could be said to have ended in 2022 with Whittaker as the Doctor. Now, those fans are complaining that the series has become too emo and jokey and repeating tropes that grew up watching as children in the 2000s. Those fans now complain like fans of the classic era do. It comes down to the same thing. It's not like it used to be, the way we like it. Where does it go from here? Bleedingcool.com ask.
Boing, time for bed.
The older and longer a TV series runs, the harder it gets to keep it fresh and new. The most important thing is to attract new viewers, without which a series cannot survive. The question is, how do you keep Doctor Who fresh and new to attract new viewers instead of long-time fans? The latter is the most important factor. New viewers wouldn't know about old tropes. The most important part is to make the stories feel like that they matter, and not just the usual save the universe or reverse the destruction of the universe tropes. Why would the destruction of the universe matter if you don't see anyone that matters in danger? Davis and Moffat have been better at that than Chibnall. They're friends and peers, and they write the series along the same dynamics. The question is, does the show need new blood, a new perspective? What would that be? And who could possibly bring that? There are plenty of wrong answers, but the right answers are out there, and we haven't seen them yet. Moffat says Doctor Who is designed to be robust enough to run forever, flexible enough to keep evolving for each era, and it hasn't even arrived at its final form yet.
Oh, I think it has.
I would say, in answer to that, that the easiest thing is to do is to write good science fiction, rather than setting something up to be like a soap opera. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think we've always argued about what's good or bad Doctor Who, even classic. If you look at, was that wonderful article in DOAS or CT about Deadly Assassin being the worst story ever, ignoring the war games and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff, and ignoring that changing the Time Lords, and we all criticised then, or Fandom did then. We've done it for a long time, but you're right, GT. What they're producing isn't Doctor Who. It's not entertaining. It's not proper telly. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know why they bothered to do it. I don't know why they bothered to make it, because if their sole intention was that they really did love this show that ran from 63 to 89, if they really did love it, if they really did enjoy it, then why bring it back with all that effort just to ultimately change it to something that it isn't?
Yeah,
it's not even a parody. It's gone way beyond a parody. It's I don't know what it is really, but I just know it isn't Doctor Who. So I don't see the point in doing it, really. And I think, I liked Capaldi. I think he had so much potential, but I think the writing was on the wall towards the end of Matt Smith, where Moffat was going to take it and Chibnall was going to pick it up and run with it like a rabid madman. And that's indeed what happened. Yeah. Shame, really.
Well, you can see it coming in, actually, and I'm going to say it because it ties in with the story we talked about at the beginning of the show, The Doctor's Wife, where, what was it, it was the other Time Lord, the concierge?
Something like that. Who was it?
The Corsair, or something like that.
That's right, yeah.
Where there's just this one line where it was implied that he'd been a female, and I just thought, here we go.
Yeah.
This is them setting down. And then, of course, in one of Capaldi's, we got the Chancery Guard captain regenerating into a woman. I thought, oh, this is so obvious.
But even before that, we got Missy as the female master.
Missy, all the nonsense. All the nonsense. It was all there, wasn't it? But again, this is an interesting article from Bleeding Cool, because I do think that the tide is changing, that people are waking up. They're questioning more. We've been doing it now for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, here's everybody else now plodding along because of what's just been going on and everything that's happening. Are they waking up?
Can I ask you a question, you guys? How did you feel? How did you feel in '89 when Doctor Who was coming off? You knew it wasn't coming back, really. I mean, how did you feel about that time of Doctor Who towards the end of the '80s when it did come off? Did you feel? I wonder if new fans feel the same way now about current Doctor Who, feeling it wasn't as good as it was, but I'm going to miss it if it goes. But did they care? You know, because we obviously were. I was gutted when it didn't come back. That's how I felt about it. Yeah, because I want to continue. You know, but
from my point of view, 89, I was 19 years old. I wasn't blubbing like I think some of them are going to be when this thing is actually given the push, possibly very soon. I wasn't blubbing because I was too busy starting to go clubbing. So it actually came at a great time for me, because I remember thinking, right, okay, Doctor Who's on a Monday, which it was in those days.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to find the time to video the episodes and then watch it. So I'm afraid other things started to happen when I was 20 in 1990. Other things started to take over, like going out and clubbing and chasing boys. So all this sort of thing started to happen, you know, and I think Doctor Who, for me, had come to a natural end, but I was always convinced it was going to come back. So I wasn't absolutely gutted. And because then, of course, they never actually said it. It said in that article, this show is cancelled, it's not coming back. I was actually waiting for it to come back. Okay, it took a lot longer than I thought, but I was waiting for it to come back. So
I think the quality of the show at that point when it was coming off, and it's a bit of a cliche to say this, but season 26 was on a high. And it was a really, really good stories, good episodes, and it really come back to being a good show. And then they pulled it, and that's what made it more wrenching for me, because it's so good, you know.
Had season 27 come along, I would have been there for it, and I probably would have made time to watch it on the Monday night. You know, I would have made that time. But there was, I'm not one of these people that was, I was like, you know, in mourning for, because I was convinced it was going to come back, but it also tied in with me actually finding life. I don't know about you.
No, I was gutted. I think it needed changes. I think it needed back to Saturday nights, although the BBC's lineup on Saturday night wasn't really particularly family friendly as it used to be in the 70s, I think, where it ruled the roost.
I can't remember, to be honest.
Going into the 90s, wasn't it? But I was upset, and you know, like many others, did take part in that letter writing campaign.
Oh, did you?
But Peter Cregeen, I think it was his name. But
Peter, yeah. I think I did do that though. Actually, I think I did write and have my voice. I'm sure I did. Yeah.
I think I did feel that it was getting better. I didn't rate season 26 as much as I rated season 25. I think I preferred that over it, to be honest. I've never been a fan of Ghostlight. I'll say it. Never been a fan of Ghostlight, I know, but I do think that JNT needed to go. He'd bless his heart, he'd gone for so long that he, even for his own mental health, he needed to go.
Did we have mental health in the late 80s? I don't remember any.
Didn't exist. No.
In retrospect, I think it was making him ill. I don't think he was happy. I don't.
He couldn't. If he'd left that, he would have been unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. And
I just in context for everybody, just in case you don't know, outside the UK, or in case you don't know, even inside the UK, John Nathan Turner was the last paid BBC producer.
Staff producer, yeah.
And I think it needed somebody else. You know, it could have probably even done with bringing back somebody like Hinchcliffe. I think he was one of the people that were the companies that made a pitch for it anyway. So he would have been keen, I think. But it also needed more money, and it needed more episodes. As soon as the series started and it started getting up to speed, it was over.
It was finished. Yeah.
You know, 13 episodes at 25 minutes was nothing. And it just needed that change. But unfortunately, you never got it. I was very upset, and I kept hoping and hoping and hoping. And then the BBC started doing stuff to try and be alternatives. They did in the early mid-90s, they did Crime Traveller, didn't they?
Do you know, I've never seen that. I'm aware of it. It had that fella from EastEnders in it.
Yeah. I got it on DVD. I hadn't seen it at the time. I bought it a couple of years ago, and it's all right. It's all right.
Well, you see, it was on a Saturday night, wasn't it? Later than Doctor Who would have been. And I do know, because I remember reading about it in the various fantasy magazines that were around at the time, that Crime Traveller was supposed to be the BBC's new Doctor Who with a bigger budget and production. And what was his name, that guy from EastEnders? Was it Michael?
Michael French? Yeah,
Michael French,
Michael
yeah.
French,
It was
they
the
had a
heart.
cameo of a TARDIS in an episode, a police
So
box
I
in one
believe.
episode.
So I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah,
I remember reading
yeah,
and hearing from
yeah.
people that, oh, this is supposed to be the Doctor Who replacement. I think you can't replace Doctor Who. There's no way you can.
Yeah.
And it didn't, because it wasn't that successful. It did okay, but it didn't guarantee 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 series, did it? It didn't do.
If they brought Doctor Who back and given it that slot and that budget,
it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
by
we
that
said
point,
before, speculatively, if McCoy was on a Saturday night, certainly 25, 26,
Yeah.
and he'd been a different ratings,
Well,
much higher than they were
yeah.
on a Monday or Wednesday night, you know.
But do you know, guys, let's save this for another show, because let's get back to this great topic, and we can spend all night talking about it. So we're going to come back to this Who Views, but let's get back to this article here from Bleeding Cool, because Daniel Raven is saying, I'm both schools of complaining fans. Woodhouse 122 wants to say it needs a big gap before coming back. The casual audience are tired of it, and even the new fans from 2005 are now bored of it. Farsight saying, I believe Hinchcliffe did say he wasn't impressed. I heard the same thing. I heard that Philip actually came out saying, what have they done? Or words to that effect. And Mike Disney says, can't everyone just stop complaining? Because Mike Disney's getting a fee from the BBC. No one complains. I'm just joking, Mike. I'm just joking. You know, it reminds me of that line in what's it called? The Simpsons. Can everyone please think of the children? Absolutely. But, you know, I mean, again, I thought this was a very interesting article from another website which has supported this version of Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, it supported the Whittaker era. It seemed to be supporting the Gatwa era. So what can a 60-year-old show do to keep fresh?
Not be crap.
Yeah.
Stay true to your original format.
Yeah.
But doesn't it strike you very odd that it's now very interesting that they are tentatively at this point now coming out, not way out criticizing it like we do, but they are now suggesting this thing has seen its best days behind it. This thing is tired. And they're blaming it on being 60 years. No. This thing is 20 years. And I reckon if this thing had stayed true to itself, like you guys are saying, and kept writing science fiction with good monsters, which were able to put the kids behind the sofa, I think it would be looking at another 10 years at least on television. Whereas now, even the fans, and as this article says, we're split into 2. I think we're possibly split into 3. Quite frankly, I think there's going to be the fans they mention, us, then the crossover fans into the new series, us, then the new series fans, Golden Age Geek, etc. Right, fabulous. And then the Whittaker and Gatwa ones, the ones that will not have anything said against the agenda. That's a third set, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they're there as well. And they're the ones that are going to be bleeding angry and calling at everybody everything when this thing is finally pulled. But I just think it's very interesting right now that they're all coming out slowly with things we've been saying for 2 years.
Yeah.
They're just following in our wake.
It took time, but they got there in the end. That's what.
I just find that it's very, very interesting that it's starting to happen now, where we're in the middle, basically, of the nonsense that they peddled out last year and the new nonsense that's on the way. And
to quote Tom Baker from Ark in Space, you know, their mind's beginning to work. You know, it's entirely down to our influence. They mustn't take any credit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It could be that. It really could be that. But I think it's because also, and I'm going to say it, there's a culture shift going on right now in the world. And could it be down to this confidence that people now have in calling out nonsense again? Could this be building up to more voices coming? What's the reaction going to be like, everybody, when Series 2 hits? You know fine well, if you're regular to the show, you're regular to this channel, I've been saying for months now, Series 2 is already out of date. It's already out of date. Will they pick that up when it starts being broadcasting? I'm quite excited about all this. David Harding's with me, for me, here in Canada. Hello, nice to see you. I hope the weather's all right. It felt like the show was taken away from us. Yeah, I know what you mean. But if the show gets cancelled now, it'll be because we took it back from them.
Good word.
Yeah.
That's good, David. Oh, I like that. Well done, you. Yes, I like that. That's really, really good. But thank you for that one. Raymond is saying to us, had Classic Who been cancelled after season 23 or 24, I would have considered it the right decision, but not after season 26. Thank you for that. Stay with us on that topic, everybody. We are going to be coming back to this topic because it's too good to do a short piece in a show on, because there's a lot we can talk about. Golden Age Geek is back with us to say, I can't wait for the cancellation to be announced, and I most certainly will not be sad, as Doctor Who has not been around for nearly 8 years, in my opinion. Whittaker and Gatwa stuff is just trash. It's certainly not associated in any way with what went before it. And as Ian was saying then, as Paula said before, you could see where it was going during the end of the Moffat era.
Yeah.
But when you look at 2005 to say 2010, 11 maybe, there's some big, bold, very popular with the public as well as fans episodes in that, where the Doctor was the Doctor.
Yeah.
It's just a shame they've crapped on that as well, isn't it? All that hard work, all that involvement, just for the sake of show business agendas, personal agendas. It's a shame, isn't it?
It's a real shame. Yeah.
But we are where we are with it. But what did you guys think of this in the article, on that particular article? We've got something new for you coming up, actually, everybody who's viewers. Coming up very, very soon, and this is where this is down to you guys, because and we're going to be doing something very shortly called To Sum Up, and this is where you guys can put into your chat anything you want to talk about, your summary of any of the stories we've talked about in tonight's show. Sum it up and put it in. So if I've missed one of your chats and you want to repeat it, if you actually want to say something on the back of this, if you want a point that I haven't made that you want to make, put it in the chats, because I will get to you. Okay, and we're going to put that in, not just yet, but we're going to, when I tell you to put the sum ups in, you can put the sum ups in. St. Rosie Mead's with us saying, she's looking forward to the reviews of the next season. I'm glad you are, because I'm not, and I'm honest. It should be more entertaining, the actual show. I'll probably be doing
it will be
every week, crying over 8 weeks of the thing, I'll tell you. Legion of James, it's possibly just because the audience they've been pandering to have finally grown up and met the real world head on. Now they see right through the nonsense as well. It's better late than never. I'm not so sure about that, Legion of James. I think it's because the audience they pandered to is so small, and they are probably in, let's face it, their 20s anyway. These are the ones that will go on to Toki Tiki, if you can get it, crying about having to do an 8-hour day, when the rest of us have been 8 hours a day since we were 15. Thank you very much. Get on with it. Do you know what I mean? So I think they are a minority. Honestly, really, really are. Eastland is quoting that one as well. Tom Baker quote, the very stupid and the very powerful have this in common. Bill saying to us, we'll stop complaining when we don't have anything to complain about. Really? From my experience of 15 years when the show was off the air, no, I don't think so.
No.
Oh, we had some
quite brutal even then, didn't it?
Yes. Oh, it got brilliant, and it was fantastic. It was
a slower pace because it would happen in letters
in
pages.
real time, face to face with people in a pub somewhere. Yeah.
My Rocco is with us as well. I gave up on the show 7 years ago. My wife is very forgiving and kept watching. We did not watch the specials with Tennant as she was horrified, and now we've both stopped watching.
Wow.
There we go. There you go. And the thing is as well, you're not on your own, as we can see this. It's all there. And Paul Rose is saying to us, this last decade or more in entertainment will be looked at in the future as the woke madness, believe me. Oh, I do. I absolutely do. And I agree with you. And Sharda Knox, I'm almost 58 and I can always find something to complain about. Well, join the club here, Sharda Knox.
My world. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We can complain about a queue in Tesco as well, can't we? Very well now. We've got it down pat. And that's
the ones I don't believe it come to mind, I think.
I know, exactly. When you get to a certain age, I think it's your responsibility to complain about things as well, because you can see how it's going wrong. What else have we got here as well? Legion of James saying to us, fans complain, it's what we do. We just complain harder if it's something we love being defiled and decimated. Absolutely. And Forbidden Man, we've got at least 3 brave fans who are going to watch it on our behalf. Give them medals. Yes, please. You can get in touch with us at whosviews1@gmail.com. Carwin is reminding me of something. Next year, they'll change the joke. It'll be knock, knock, who's there? Cancelled. Cancelled who? Yes, they have. I seem to remember certain things the same way in 1990. Do you guys? But
Yes.
Exactly. So listen, now everybody is the time where, again, a new part of the show, bring it up for you. If you want to say something to sum up what your thought about is on any of the topics or all of the topics we talked tonight, start putting it into the chat now as we get to the final. Yep. So get your bits and pieces in now for the sum up bit, please. Bill Lowry's
Is
already.
this the bit about Caputrino? Is it?
Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to get a sum up from our lovely chums in the chat to see what they would think about any of our stories, because I can't keep up with all the chat these days, I have to say. We've got here, I'm not happy, says Bill, that you're not taking my statement seriously. Who do I complain to? Me.
Put up the email address again.
Yeah, so while you're all putting in your thoughts to sum up on your thoughts on any of the stories we talked about tonight, did you see the latest bit of merchandise coming your way from BBC Studios this week? I know, I was so excited about this. Climbing on a bandwagon that's been around for at least 10 years now is this. The Doctor Who official colouring book, everybody. Yes, you can get your grubby little protuberances on this, which is coming out in the next few months from the BBC and Penguin publishers. The official colouring book. Yes, you can spend hours and hours colouring in images of monsters and situations from the new series reboot. Isn't that exciting? Although, of course, it is actually, in my opinion, aimed at an audience where I think it should be already coloured in.
I'll be over the edges probably if they do it.
Definitely.
I was going to say, if you go back to that picture, there's a picture left of the logo above Beep for the Meep. Now, I think that could be a robot that's in the trailer, the teaser trailer.
No, it's the smile thing. It's the smile thing.
Is it? It looks a bit tall for that, isn't it?
I thought it was the smile thing.
Is it? Right. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Okay.
Yeah. So that's coming up for you now. You can get it if you are desperate. If you want to. If you want to get that, you can, and you can get it from all the usual places. I'm not selling it very well because it's like, oh my god! But the thing is that the thing about sorry, I'm just looking at all the chat. Go here. The thing about the colouring books,
the mental age of the audience that they're aiming for, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Does it come with crayons as well? Just to provide your own crayons? How does that work?
Listen, as I said to a couple of friends of mine a couple of days ago, this thing is late because that whole colouring book craze really kicked off in 2020 because nobody had anything else to do apart from moan on social media and colour in things. Do you know what I mean? And so you were getting loads of things. You were getting the fairies, you were getting all the Harry Potter stuff, you were getting the Disney stuff. And I remember thinking at the time, where's the Doctor Who one? They would make a fortune doing it now. Fast forward to 2025 and it's just about to arrive.
Well, my mate's got one from 73 with John Pertwee on it, which is lovely, I have to say. Really nice. Yeah.
They're not allowed crayons. They'd either eat them or put them up their nose, the target audience.
That's very dangerous. Yeah.
Let's get to the
in their case.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the official. They say it's the official one because, of course, there have been several unofficial over the last 20 years. I don't know if you've seen them. Some of them have been pretty nice, not that I've bought them.
You want a decent book, download our annual.
Yeah, it's still available on the community tab, everybody. Our 2025 annual, which was our gift to all of you at Christmas time. It's still there. You can go and have a look at that. But yeah, we might do a colouring book. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let's get into the sum ups then. Thank you very much, everybody. Golden Age Geek is summing up by saying Doctor Who needs a good long break and come back with a different team in charge.
Here.
Yes, absolutely. Lex is saying to us, JNT was the George Lucas of Doctor Who. The New Who team do not know Doctor Who because they follow a particular person's lead. And because they think he knows absolutely everything about this series, like they did back in 2003, 2004, they follow anything he says. Plus, they're bringing their own sort of picture of television today and what they think is good for the public as well, aren't they? Wrong. Mike Disney is saying, in summary, I'm going for an audition tomorrow. Please wish me luck. Well, not what I wanted, but good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Well done, Mike. I hope you get it. Please let me know. hughesviews1@gmail.com if you get that, because I know what they're like. So good luck to you. And I look forward to hearing what it was for if you get it, honestly. But good luck to you. All the best, all the best, all the best. What else we got to? Julie Wendy, to sum up, new show bad, old show good.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Tim Kintz, again, not able to read that one out, but to sum up. Okay. To sum up, says Bill Larry, more discussion about No Clark's situation. We'll look into that. We'll look into that. Leave it with us. Moriarty, to sum up, aren't adipose fat phobic these days? The answer to that is yes. They wouldn't be allowed back on the show, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
Stephen Braddock, thank you for this lovely comment. Doctor Who has a future. It's called Who's Views. Thank you so for that. That is very lovely of you. And Paul Thomas Ashworth, to sum up, sack RTD. He needs a retirement package. Bye bye, Russell. Oh, he's got a retirement package. I can assure you. I can assure you. What else we got? Marjorie summing up. Thank you for another great show. New Who needs to disappear for a long rest, and so does RTD. He's actually gone on record saying what he would plan to do after Doctor Who. And it is a show, as I've been saying, that would be on at 9 o'clock on Channel 4. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these things, because that's all he knows how to write, basically.
RTD could stand for Rest the Dunce, couldn't it, really? Just thinking about that.
Can you say dunce anymore, though, if you can?
I don't know. Yeah.
I've no idea.
Isn't it?
No idea.
Hat on and things.
But you know what? I mean, I don't think it would be that successful. To sum up, Tony Graydon saying the writers have the crayons. Absolutely. And Woodhouse122 is saying that will be available in the sales section of the works before too long. Either that or sent it to the pulp factory. I can see it being, it's exactly what the works would like, and it will be well discounted. So if you're interested, maybe wait for a little while and then go and check out your local works shop. What else have we got here? Raymond Williams saying Christopher Eccleston now looks like a prophet. Don't tell him that, because he's got a big enough ego as it is. What else have we got here? Any more to sum ups, everybody? I know this is a new feature, but we're going to do it for you if you like it on all the headlines. You've got that last say, if you like. Gilliam saying to us on the JNT bit, interested to know if you read his book, Me and Him and the Doctor, and just add the audiobook was a great read listen.
Oh,
I don't remember him writing that book. We're going to look into that. Thank you, Gilliam. I don't know. I've got the two he did read, or the three he's got there. There we go. Stuart Busby, to sum up, there are rays of hope. My youngest daughter is 14. Her friends, a gay lad, a lesbian, and a trans girl, and a bi boy. Oh my gosh, you got them all there, haven't you? They all think this woke agenda is a pile of crap too. So it's not all youngsters.
good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, well, good for them. Yeah. Gosh, all the bloody labels, though. It does my head in. Thanks for that, Stuart. To quote Miranda, says Jason Parker from the film The Devil Wears Prada, colouring books. Groundbreaking. Love that film. Absolutely. Julianne, to sum up, the BBC are hypocrites and the public realise RTD writes crap. A Doctor Who official colouring book was published in 2015. They seem to have forgotten that then, Bedouin, because the label in this is the first one. I'd certainly forgotten it, but then I was busy being an adult in 2015, so I didn't. It went over my head, honestly. Thanks for that, mate. Thank you. What else have we got here? Any more? Have you got any more? In summary, here we are. Moriarty, to sum up, we should all go to Ledsworth and fill the pond with birds with a huge banner saying, "Here's all the ducks we give." Woodhouse122, to sum up, who needs at least 5 years off the air?
Yep.
Ark in Space, after a 5 to 10 years rest, the series definitely needs new blood and write some decent science fiction. And I think the series should return to the serialized format like in 63 to 89. You know I'm going to agree with you with that one. Absolutely. I think it's better as a half-hour show. I really do. John Henson. Yep. Okay. Dalek Eye, to sum up, the show needs to go off into the sunset for at least 10 years. Wow.
I think sadly the damage is done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's always in your mind, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it is.
It is. We've got Paul Stanterford, to sum up, Doctor Who could have lasted forever, but those in control of the show have killed it.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all this. St. Rosie Mead, to sum up, retire the programme, please. Easton is saying to us, I liked Ace, not always. I liked her pointing out rude and stupid events and attitudes. Well, that could actually be the current Doctor Who production team, to be honest. To sum up, says Mark A. Wright, the tide is turning.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Thank you for that one. Any more here, everybody? Oh, yeah, Mark Milford, to sum up, nice to see you, Mark. Why is it those who pretend for a living think they have a monopoly on the truth? I wish I could answer that question, but I can't, because I don't understand them anymore. And Bedouir is saying, to sum up, the ratings analysis on Who's Views has been vindicated.
It didn't need it, though. It was wonderfully researched.
Yeah, and as I say, all from facts, everybody. Sharda Knox, to sum up, retire, then reboot, darker, scarier, and no romance. Yeah, and no setting in the blooming modern day, because it's it's dated. It's
Yeah.
dated. Go and look at the 2005 series. That's all I'm saying at the moment. It's dated, but fun. We need new sci-fi. Yeah, says Forbidden Man. And Paul Rose saying, to sum up after the rest, Sean Pertwee for the Doctor. He wouldn't do it.
As much as I love Sean Pertwee, I don't think he would do it. And please don't ask him.
He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it. You know, I know some fans like the idea. No disrespect. I personally don't. I would want somebody brand new, possibly in their 30s, late 30s, early 40s, male. Controversial, but it shouldn't be because the Doctor's a male of his species. But I don't think it would be Sean.
I think part of the problem is Sean looks so much like his dad now. It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere that he said that's his dad's role.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think he has. I think Sean Pertwee's got more respect for the series, especially his dad's era, than this lot have got ever. I think. Yeah. Just seen him in a new film as well. I think it's called The Duchess. Really good.
Oh, right. Okay.
He's a bloody good actor, though, he really is. I think he's a better actor than his dad. I don't mean that to be disrespectful to John, but I think he is, you know. But...
I think he built on what was going on around him at the time, as well as the experience he had. And it's definitely a credit to the Pertwee family tradition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's, because he's a cracking actor. He's a lovely actor.
Yeah. I saw that Cab Files on cable TV this afternoon.
Did you?
That's fantastic. He's in that.
I've never seen that one either. I heard he was in that. Never seen it because I was always out.
He's very good in it, yeah.
XSM is saying, to sum up, sack RTD, and Tim Kins is the same. To sum up, 2 + 2 = 5. Anthony Green is with us saying to us, after a break, please come back with 2 or 3 feature-length specials a year and go dark.
Just go dark.
And maybe, says Daniel, actually have monsters again.
Yeah. Legion
of James is saying, to sum up, Ghostlight was not that bad. It certainly wasn't Time and the Rani bad. Thank you for that.
I like Time and the Rani. Come on.
Mike back with us again. To sum up, great show. Thanks for the certain type of entertainment. Dave Harding saying to us, we need quality sci-fi writing, a showrunner who doesn't write for the show. A showrunner who doesn't write for the show, right? Script editors, a vision for the show that honors the past when appropriate, but focused on the future. See, that goes back, Dave, to my always point that the showrunners of the past we were called producers.
Yeah.
Let them bring them back and get rid of all this showrunner nonsense.
But the most successful years of the show, when they moved on and didn't look back at all, they carried on moving forward. That's the important thing, you know?
Yeah. Thank you for all your sum ups. Keep them coming. To sum up, Ghostlight is brilliant. So Farsight, here, Farsight.
Can I just shout out Farsight, because we've had some cracking banter in the chat here, them and I, about Ghostlight. I cheekily said that, you know, I would agree with them, but then we'd both be wrong. And he came back brilliantly, top quality. Loved it.
Good. That's what it's all about. We're talking good stuff here, but it's all about our humor as well, isn't it? And that's why we love coming on Sunday. It makes my day Sunday. It really does. What have we got here? Emily. Hello, Emily Piper. How are you? Time Lord Victorious has come down with food poisoning, so had to stop watching. He'll catch up with better. Well, listen, for when he does come back on Time Lord Victorious, I hope you're feeling a lot better now.
Yeah.
Food poisoning is not the nicest thing in the world, is it?
Oh
my God. That taste you get in your mouth as well for days afterwards. Oh, please, no. Get well soon, Time Lord Victorious. Carwin, to sum up, I don't think Doctor Who needs a break as they haven't made Doctor Who for years. Ooh, that's interesting.
Good point.
What else have we got? What else have we got? And hey, is it true, says Rose Kirby. Hello, Rose. The classic Doctor Who Season 7 Blu-rays coming out March the 3rd and not February the 3rd. Which one will it be? Wow.
It's March the 3rd, according to Amazon. Yeah.
According to Amazon, it's March the 3rd.
Yeah.
March the 3rd. A lot of the guys in the chat saying that as well. Yeah, according to Amazon, it's March the 3rd. Not long to go. And I'm hearing Lex and all the others, I'm hearing there might be an announcement coming up in the next couple of months on the next standard edition. Ooh,
they're picking up.
Well, I hope so. Please get us up to date with that. Let's have a look. To sum up again, says Paul Rose, walk back the time as child when it comes back. The best thing they will do if and when this thing is finished and if and when it ever comes back is to forget absolutely everything that happened and start again. Absolutely.
Like he's half human, you know.
To sum up, I'd rather slam Little Mark in a drawer than sit through season 1 again, says Mark Greaves. Thanks very much for that. Ooh. Fabulous, lovely. Any more? Yes, we've got that. To sum up, says Garbage. Up the sums. To sum up, 2 and 2 is 4. And Kirsty is saying to us, to sum up, hit the like button and subscribe, please. Absolutely. I'm going to say that. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It's nice to see a lot of new people this week. If you have subscribed, please do make sure you are still subscribed. That would be fantastic. Listen, that's fantastic. Sum up a hard reboot, says Lex Kane. You'll get used to this. I'd like to keep doing it if you guys are interested in keeping doing that. A sum up where you can actually, because I'm very aware that because the chat goes quick, I'm missing people. So you can always get that last bit at the end of the show on headlines now, where you can put in your say if I've missed it, or if there's something else you want to say, and we'll do a sum up bit at the end of the show. Okay. If you like it, that is. He says, presuming people are going to like it. Listen, thanks very much for joining us for this edition of Headlines today. Thanks again, as always, to Paul and to Third Doctor Ian. It wouldn't be the same without you. So thanks so much for your comments and on that, your support on that one. We're going to be back. Now listen, don't forget that this week on Wednesday on the channel, we are going to be reviewing. Oh, actually, I have a graphic for that I had somewhere, but I've lost it. We are going to be reviewing Spearhead from Space, everybody. That's what's going to be on the show next. Spearhead from Space, live at 8 o'clock UK time, United Kingdom time. That's right, 8 o'clock. We're going to be here to talk about Spearhead from Space as part of our celebration of season 7 at 55 years old and the start of the mighty John Pertwee 5-year run. 55.
Yeah.
Best story ever.
Can I say, be quiet, Barney? Okay, that's what.
Do you want to say it again?
Be quiet, Barney.
Be quiet, Barney. Absolutely.
Quiet, Barney. That's it.
Oh, listen, we're getting a lot of people in the chat now. I'm going to have to say thank you for this. Thank you for this. We've got great stuff as usual, says Tony Graydon. Thank you, Tony. We've got great show, guys. Thanks to the mods in the chat as well. Absolutely. Thank you to Garbage and Kirsty.
Yeah.
Very important parts of the team, says Shada Knox. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everyone, says Marjorie. Absolutely. Paul Rose, great show, chaps. Kept time tickling. Rose has given us a lovely message here. Once again, I want to thank you, Who's Views, for a wonderful show, and to wish everyone nighty night, sweet dreams, hugs, joy, love to all. And please, on Wednesday the 22nd, wish me happy birthday. I'm going to have to make a note of that, Rose. Happy birthday for then. Yes, okay, thank you. Come on and remind me as well, please. I've got a memory like... What did Colin Baker say? I can't remember, but anyway, you know what I mean.
What was those things you put rice through? What's it called?
Sieve.
That's the one there.
There's another line in Doctor Who. I'll have to go and look it up. David Harding, great show.
Yeah.
Thank you to the panel and the thread. Have a great evening. Bill, as already said, the Spearhead review already booked. Legion of James says, yay, Spearhead, great stuff. Excellent season 7. Stephen Braddock saying to us here, JT, thanks JT, Ian and Paul on the chat. It made my Sunday night. You do for me as well. Honestly, I love coming on a Sunday night and making sure, you know, we're talking all together. It's great. John Henson is saying, BBC created this new Christmas ghost story about the abuse of women during Victorian time. Strange it's not in the book. Oh, really? I don't know anything about that. Well, thank you for that one. Julianne is looking forward to Spearhead from Space as well. Paul Schlufter is also looking forward to Wednesday. Cheers, fellas, says John. Thank you, John Mason. Mark Milford, great show, a real pick-me-up. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. XXM, Spearhead. I think the official Doctor Who channel did a clip of that recently. They should have done if they haven't. Yeah. 55 years, they should have done. Good night to you, Woodhouse122. Thank you, Moriarty. Thank you. Mark is saying, calm down, Ian. He can't. He's so excited. Thank you, Carwin. Great. Peter Venkman, fansite, is saying, great show, guys. Thank you, lovely. What have we got here? 2,000 hours, says Forbidden Man. Exactly. That's the night we go live. Great show, everyone, says St. Rosie Mead. Looking forward to Spearhead. Poor Barney, says Paul.
I know, exactly, yeah. I
like to think he ran into Oxley Woods away from the autumn, I think.
As the dog impersonator does the howl, you know. And more of that later. Yes.
Paul Stantiford is also saying thank you for another great show. Thank you, mate. Thank you. See you earlier, says Steve. Look, listen, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Anthony's saying to us, great show. I missed the first half hour, so I have that look forward to. Yes, you do. You really do. Wow, look at all this. Fantastic. Thank you to John. Thank you to Golden Age Geek. Thank you to Ark in Space. Thank you to Komodo. Oh, there's so many of you here. It's so fantastic. Off to watch Classic Who, says Ark in Space. Sheila B in the Devotions. As per usual, a great chat with lots of info. Love you guys. Spearhead's my favourite because it's the third Doctor. Absolutely. DeMorpin, Mark A. Wright. There are so many of you to say thank you to, but I wanted to do that. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we'll be back on Wednesday for our review of Spearhead from Space. Can't wait to talk about that. You can guess what the scores on the TARDIS doors are going to be for that one, can't you? It's a done deal. Again, to Paul, Third Doctor Ian, thank you, fellas. And until we see you again on the channel, don't forget that when they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it. Ciao, everybody. Thank you very much. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.